How you doing? Where you going?
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Where you heading?
42nd and 6.
You guys are the Odd Taxi. It's a TV game show that takes place right here in my taxi.
Oh my God.
What do you say? You want to play?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a ride in the Odd Taxi. So what are your names?
Warning. This podcast may contain spoilers as well as coarse language. Viewer discretion is advised.
3.
I heard no other clap.
I clapped.
did I.
Maybe we were that good where we all clapped over one
We were
another.
all so simultaneous.
Or maybe it's just
Yeah.
maybe it's like Discord cutting it out because it peaks the mic, so it's like the
Yeah, maybe.
sensitivity
It
kind
could
of
be.
mutes it.
No, we're all rhythmically
we all
inclined
clapped.
We just
fellows.
nailed it so
We all
hard.
just get it.
That's really
We're all
funny.
drummers. We got this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maz is going to review the tape and be like, no, they weren't even close at
No,
all.
no one. Turns out, and actually nobody clapped. They were just listening for the other people.
Awesome.
As usual, I have no freaking plan. It's like suddenly we hit record and it's like, oh wait a minute, I need to do an intro.
Oh, shit,
and
we have to
stuff
talk
like that.
on this. God,
I know,
Oh,
that
God,
happens
I have
to me every time, too.
Say words. So anyway, hello to Teru. Welcome to the R Anime Podcast. It's the end of the season, the start of the new season. So we're going to talk about the anime that we watched and we maybe liked and have things to say about from the past spring season. It was a really interesting season, I think. One of the most interesting seasons we've had in a while, even though I think I said that last season. Whatever. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't go back and correct me. Anyway, and also, I would like to welcome you to what is most likely the series finale of seasonal retrospectives on the R Anime Podcast.
what?
We're done. We're not doing this anymore.
We're retiring.
We're not doing. I realize it's kind of counterproductive to have like a 3-hour podcast talking about everything when we could just do podcasts about each individual show.
Yeah.
That seems a lot more
The actually
exciting.
good ones.
The seasonal retrospectives just like ruin our lives for 2 weeks and then take forever to edit and then create less content.
Yes, it's funny that I had an awakening about this, like as we were planning on this, as we were planning this episode, and I'm like, wait a minute, why the fuck are we doing this? This is stupid.
Why are we binging 23 hours worth of material just to talk about it for 3?
Exactly. So, hope you enjoy this last episode, and I hope you also enjoy the direction that we're going to go in, because it just means more content, hopefully. Anyway, that aside, so it's me, it's us again. It's me, Modzilla Fennekin, abusing mod privileges once again, and joining me is Sinris.
Hello. This was, I agree, an extremely interesting season. And it also
Yes.
felt like it lasted a million fucking years.
Yes.
Like, let alone the fact it feels like Dynazenon ended months ago. It feels like
Man.
all of these shows started like a year ago.
It does feel like it was a while since we did the impressions.
Yeah. I liked most of them a lot, though, so I'm really excited to talk about them.
Yes. And also, we have Panic.
It's poppin', my oomfies.
Yep, who is currently watching anime right now.
I forgot that the last episode of Spider got pushed due to production issues, so I have that sitting in a window waiting for me.
I guess it's good to delay one episode as opposed to one entire core. So, good job, Spider.
Don't tell
Bolt.
Egg that.
Oh no!
Don't even
we're
talk
not-
about it.
That's for another podcast. And speaking of another podcast, we are crossing over once again with the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast.
Nice
That's
segue.
very smooth.
We've got Mason.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be back. Glad to be here on the, I guess, departing voyage of the retrospective content. But thank you for having me, and thank you for having me on this season in particular, because there were so much good stuff to get into that it wasn't like maybe next season might be
Next season doesn't look so good.
Hey!
But, you know.
Whoa.
low expectations.
You never know.
Better results, maybe?
Yeah, low expectations. Will be surprised by how much good stuff there is going to be, probably. We'll get into that when we get there. But for now, we're going to go back and talk about the anime that, again, we completed, maybe, possibly liked, at least have some things to say about. So, getting into it, the first one is going to be Mashiro no Oto, aka those Snow White Notes, which I think declared anime of the season in our impressions, and then I proceeded to not watch any more of it. So what do you guys think about
Wait,
it?
did you actually not watch any more of it?
Unfortunately, no.
That's really funny.
I was curious because I remember huge praise in the impressions. Everybody loved it. Then I started watching it and I finished it and I'm like, that wasn't that good.
Yeah, I think you and I, Maz, were both really digging the first couple episodes of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had only seen the first episode and thought it was just okay.
The first episode was so weird.
Yeah, it was very strange.
Well, what I understand is that's a million chapters covered in one episode, right?
It was a few. It was a handful.
Because it feels
I think I exaggerated
it's
it because I wasn't
a
entirely
lifetime of grandfather dies, I lose my muse, move to Tokyo, get kissed by a pinup model, move back, and then go to high school. It felt like a college-age drama, and then he goes to high school for the rest of it.
Don't forget being bullied by your hot mom.
Get bullied by your really hot mom.
See, well, at least we were right when we said that you should watch it because there are attractive older women in it.
And I like that instrument. It sounds good, but there's so much of this show, the shamisen, where someone will play something, and I think it sounds fine, and then everybody goes, "Oh, that kind of fucking sucked, huh?" And then they play again. It sounds exactly the same, and everybody fucking comes. Oh my god! It's like he's a different person. What the fuck? I'm sorry. It all sounds the fucking same. It's a banjo. It's a Japanese banjo.
It's
a Japanese banjo, and all the performances sounded the fucking same. Yeah.
I think that in retrospect, the decision to blitz through the first episode was even more strange, given that all the best content is in that episode.
Yes.
So I get to. I don't know. I guess it was just the right decision to not watch any more of it.
Yeah.
It's really strange because I don't even watch that many music anime, but I feel like every single line and event in this show is lifted from something else.
This show was aggressively mediocre.
He has to go to the school. He has to join the club. They have to do a team performance. It's just it's Chihaya-Furu, but with the shamisen. And then they go to a big competition. They don't win. They get some kind of what's it called? Not a real trophy, but a
participation trophy.
No, not participation. Consolation trophy? Consolation prize kind of thing? It's they placed third overall, but then they also get a special performance trophy. Ooh, you're really impressed. You didn't win, but you really did a good job. Yeah. And then, it's just it's all the same beats I feel like I've seen from other things. And the music was okay. so in the end, I
honestly really enjoyed the music. The shamisen performances, for what the show was, I think they did it really right, and it's a lot better than some other music shows, like the Koto show, where they talk about, how great this instrument is, and then mask it under, orchestration, or, don't give it the respect it deserves. And I like this show for really committing to, this is the instrument, and it is on full display. But like you guys said, the melodrama, the unoriginal writing, just these crude, underdeveloped characters that have these arcs that are resolved 1 second after they are initiated, just makes everything such an underwhelming narrative. And the comedy with some Teen Titans-esque reaction faces that just take you out of it. It was just so wonky.
Oh my god, I can see that. Yes.
If someone just made a 20-minute supercut of the shamisen performances and just made a mix of that on YouTube, I'd be perfect. I'll watch that in the background when I'm doing whatever. But as a 12-episode anime, this did so little that it was kind of depressing.
Yeah, I am 100% on the same page with you, Mason. I think the best performance of the whole show was the one the main character does as a duet with the older kind of antagonistic,
not
his brother, the other guy, the high graduate of his school with the undercut or whatever. I thought that one was the best performance. But given that, the whole show kind of ultimately just served as a vehicle for good shamisen performance scenes, it was a really weird choice in the second to last episode to basically just drown out the main character's climactic end of competition performance with the dramatic, sad orchestral music.
I think that was because he was trying to replicate his grandfather's style at that point.
Yeah.
So, we don't even get to hear that, which was a little strange, but I kind of understand why they did it. But at that point, I was kind of already checked out.
It's all about finding your sound and playing your sound. And you can't hear the notes, but then you can hear the notes, and then he plays his sound, and everybody is just knocked on their ass.
And it's just all these people come to the performances who we've never seen before, and all the other characters are like, wow, that guy's a big deal in the shamisen world.
They
and then
showed
that guy says,
I love the guy who did
girl
the
from the first episode on for 2 seconds during the final episode.
Yeah, there was that one guy who does that swing. He has a thing where he keeps weep, weep, weep on this string.
Oh, yeah.
And it just looks like he's jerking it off. It looks so fucking funny.
I also thought the mom was a really shitty antagonist.
She was just a weird character. She just felt so alien to that show. And I get that she's a larger-than-life figure who just doesn't fit in with this, but it was so, she was pulled from a different anime completely. It didn't feel cohesive.
She was
I feel like
a Food Wars villain.
Yeah, she was like a Food Wars character. That's the anime she came from.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. I thought the family drama could have been interesting. I definitely liked it more than the high school content. Man, those other high school students, they were so bad.
I liked Yui. I liked the ponytail girl.
Oh, the gamer girl?
Cool. Was she a gamer?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. She was fun.
Yeah, she had good moments, but all the others, they're just so annoying.
I mean, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but there's that one guy who, right before he goes on stage to perform, he sees his parents in the crowd, and he's like, now they will validate me for not playing soccer anymore. And it's like, wait, where did this come from? And then he's like, well, I guess they love me. And it just fell so flat.
There we go.
Yeah.
Mason, that's called character development. It's a little something writers like to do.
They certainly tried, but I don't know. It was a disappointing show, especially for how much I was hoping to come of it. So
just so strange how the whole thing grinded to a halt after the first episode felt like the events of a movie, but over 20 minutes. And then the rest of the show was just high school. Classic high school shenanigans. I would have
bring back the pinup girl, cut all the other characters. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did she ever come back?
No, she's on screen for 2 seconds in the last episode.
The last episode, yeah.
Yeah.
Moving to dropped list.
The shitty boyfriend does actually come back. Physically, he's there at the performance. He doesn't do anything there.
He was the real waifu there, all along.
And then afterwards, when Setsu is crying because he lost, he walks up as if to say something to him, and he's like, "No, I don't want to get in the middle of this," and walks away.
Nah, fam.
Yeah, it was so weird.
Ain't touching this mess.
Yeah,
yeah. It ends with him finding the passion. I want to improve. I want to get better. And that feels like sequel bait, and I will not watch a sequel if it gets one.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat.
Agreed. Instead of a sad trombone noise, we need a sad shamisen noise.
Twang, twang.
I'll see what I can do. Well, that was sad. That was disappointing.
After a good start.
What a fall from grace. And after we said that there were so many great anime this season, we've already lost everybody. So, thanks, Mashiro. No, whatever.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe things will look up as we talk about Vivy, Flourite Eye's song. This was one that I don't think we talked about too much in our first impressions, but it did kind of creep up on the season and became one of the surprise hits this season, I would say. So
I'm the only one who finished this, right?
Possibly.
Yes, I got near to the end, but I did not complete it.
Oh. I have to say that I was going to finish it. I had every intention on finishing it. However, I started episode 10. I was watching it. And then for some reason, I checked the scores that my friends gave it on my anime list. And I see that Tay gave it a 5. Well, Tay is the person who recommended that I watch this. So I'm like, Tay, what the fuck? Why did you recommend a show that you don't even like? And he said, well, I really liked it until the last arc. And I'm like, oh shit, I really like it, and I just started the last arc. I'm aborting this right away. And so that's why I haven't finished Vivy yet.
Yeah, it is funny. Tay was shilling this show all season, and is also the one who got me to watch it. I believe. And I think
he also had different. I also think he had different things to say between the two of us. Like, he recommended it in two different ways. For me, he said it was Hatsune Miku as the Terminator in Terminator 2.
And it was either Tay or might have been Replay Value, I don't remember, described it to me as Violet Evergarden on meth. Which is less accurate, but funnier.
Yes.
Yeah, I got Violet Evergarden plus, like, Planetary and Love Child vibes.
I did actually finish the whole show. I honestly have no idea what people are talking about when they say that the last arc went way downhill. I actually messaged Tay to talk about it after I finished last night, and they were too busy to chat, so I don't have the insights. But I thought the show was great all the way through. I loved it.
He ran.
Yeah. The coward. Wasn't prepared to fight me. I can maybe guess at what issues people had with the ending, but I don't know. Like, I think... Well, okay, so you guys mind if I spoil the ending for you?
No, go for it.
Okay, so the last arc is that the robot uprising still happens, like, basically identically to how it did in the original timeline.
Nice.
Great job, Matsumoto.
Yeah, right. And they, like, tons of humanity gets wiped out instantly. They go and they manage to save the doctor who was the one who, like, sent Matsumoto back in time and everything. So through all this, like, after the end of the second to last arc, like, the diva personality was hit with that, like, data erasing virus that, like, wiped her out. So it's back to, like, the Vivy personality that shut itself down after the end of the third arc when the guy committed suicide and everything. So she's been in, like, basically traumatized by that, like, unable to sing, has, like, no drive to complete her mission or anything. So she's like, okay, well, I'm just going to, like, retire from being a singer and sit in, like, this AI museum and try to figure out, like, how to get that spark back. And she spends, like, the next 20 plus years, like, all the time up through the rest of the 100, like, trying to write a song, because she does a search of the archive and finds that, like, while there have been, like, composer and songwriter AIs that have been, like, directed to write songs, like, there's no record of an AI ever, like, choosing to write a song on their own when that's not what they were, like, designed to do. So she ends up doing that. And then when she wakes up on the day of the robot apocalypse, all of the robots that are going around killing people are singing her song. And it turns out that the origin of the robot apocalypse was in, like, the archive that they go to all along, which is directed from that big tower they point to all the time, had calculated that, like, humanity had become dependent on robots, and that the AI were, like, the next logical step in human evolution, which was ultimately finally proven to them when Vivy performed, like, the first act of creativity that an AI ever did. That was like the proof that AI are capable of supplanting humans.
Is that what it means to have a heart?
So what it means to have a heart is to like sing along with all your memories or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So they
okay.
The archive gives her the option as like the one who brought in this future to like decide what the future is going to be. If she can like sing that song that she wrote like openly to everyone, and she's unable to do it, and they like drop millions of satellites on the Earth and humanity is completely wiped out. So the final episode then is that she gets sent back in time again to the beginning of the uprising in order to like get her mojo and sing the song and end everything before it becomes too late. And I don't know, like, it wasn't the best arc, but I don't think it was bad by any means. And I felt that the show always, from the beginning, had a pretty tenuous grip on the why everything was happening. So while that slipped further, definitely, in the last arc, I don't think that was a big change from what came before.
I get you. I mean, Zoolander once asked, why male models? And I feel like Vivy's whole question is, why singing idols?
Yeah, totally.
Just because it's a cool aesthetic.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed Vivy. I thought it was a ton of fun.
All right.
I thought Matsumoto was one of the best characters of the season. Their dynamic was perfect.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
it's just awesome.
Cool aesthetics is definitely what Wit Studio seems to be all about, because now this is 2 years in a row where they've put out just a banger original that just looks amazing.
Right.
I feel like now that they've freed themselves from the shackles of Attack on Titan, you know, they've just gone off and done their own thing, and everyone wins in this situation. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Vivy is the best anime, the best looking anime of this year. And yes, you can include the Yaiba movie in that conversation.
Absolutely.
Vivy looks better than that.
Hands down.
I would agree. I think that, you know, Studio Wit, as you said, just offers some incredible moments of animation that only they can deliver. My only gripe visually was that it wasn't always cohesive. Like, sometimes the shots looked so good with, like, these hyper-detailed, mainly close-up of Vivy's eyes when she was, like, about to go sicko mode. Where I was like, oh, this looks so good. It almost doesn't match the good-looking show before it. But besides that, I mean, that's just a small peanuts compared to just all the, like, overlays of her, like, AI vision with, you know, bars and sensors and scanners.
Yes.
Like, I loved all of that.
Yeah.
Those were super cool.
I also really liked the way they did all the visualizations of the timeline changing with, like, the tubes to the screens going through and stuff, and, like, when the time travel actually happens, like, the clocks rolling back and people de-aging and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, as you said, though, the why is the big problem I had with the show, because, you know, one arc, they try to save this guy from dying to help this bill pass, and then they try to save the same guy in a different way to make sure that the bill doesn't pass, because all of a sudden that goes against what was happening, and then they're just like, they spend so much time asking about what does it mean to have a heart as AIs develop, and I'm like, well, either we're okay with, like, limiting these creatures or animals or whatever they are from having a heart by, like, stunting their progress, or they truly don't have a heart, and in which case, like, it felt just messy all the way around, but nonetheless, the look and feel of the show kind of overcame that.
Yeah, I think that would be my biggest complaint with it. Oh, it's not even really a complaint. But that, like, I thought it was cool that, you know, Vivy's first mission is to, like, she's an AI we're supposed to be invested in as a person, but her first mission is to stop the passage of a bill that, like, grants AIs human rights.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it just felt messy.
Yeah, and stuff like that, you know, it's an interesting thing that doesn't really pay off in any way. And then also, I was convinced through the majority of the show that there was going to be a twist, that, like, Matsumoto was lying the whole time, and either he was, like, trying to cause the robot uprising to happen or something like that, because it always felt through the end of every arc that, like, the way they changed things was not really that big of a departure from what he described in the original timeline. And so it wasn't really surprising to me when they get all the way up to the 100 years and the war still happens. But then, like, they kind of imply at the end that it was guaranteed the robots were going to rise up from, like, even before the 100 years. So, like, the whole project might have been pointless all along. I don't know. It was weird and sloppy, and the plot doesn't really make sense. But I don't really think it needed to for a show like this.
Yeah.
I get you. And Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I didn't have...
I was going to take us off on a tangent, so...
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, don't really consider this, technically anime, it's a donghua, but if you want something similar, a show called Link Click came out this season, and it's on Funimation, and it's not like an AI thing, but it's two characters that, like, go back in time and get to, like, relive moments of characters' past of, like, regret that they've had to try to, like, fix the past to correct the issue kind of thing, and it very much felt like the same as Vivy with, going back to correct or change what will happen in the future, and, a little more, emotional beats, parents losing their kids, and that kind of thing, but it was, I feel like if what this show had, Link Click, was inserted into Vivy, that, like, exactly what I was looking for, so I feel like that scratched the itch that Vivy was leaving me.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like it's been a really long time since we've had a great time travel thriller.
Yeah, Tokyo Revengers isn't scratching that.
Yeah. So, if you like time travel thrillers, watch Vivy. It's not the best example of its kind, but I think it hits the beats well. And also, it looks fucking great. Fantastic. Yeah, so if you like well animated fight scenes, this is the show for you.
Yeah. It's definitely worth watching, so.
Panic, was that enough time for you to finish watching Spider, or should we keep going?
Almost. 1 more minute. No, it's fine. It's basically over.
All right, let's move on to the next show.
Let me talk about Vivy is very attractive. Okay, let's move on. All right, next anime is Bishounen Tanteidan.
Speaking of attractive.
An anime we were glowing about in our first impressions, and I feel like this was pretty consistent, although I didn't finish this one. I promise this isn't like the last 2 seasons where I only finish like 3 shows. It just happens that they're all at the end of this list, so... yeah.
This was a weird show.
I didn't finish it.
Unsurprisingly for Shaft and Shinbo, but it is weird.
I mean, I want to finish it, but I find it exhausting to watch. There's so much talking, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But it's very pretty.
Welcome to Nisio Easy.
And I am I don't know. I decently like the characters, I guess. I've only seen 4 episodes. I think the characters are okay. I think they need to shut the fuck up. Jesus criminy.
I think the main girl, Mayumi, is a fantastic main character as we complete the season with her.
She's very charismatic.
And I found my enjoyment of the show wildly different depending on what arc or mystery they were on. Like the first arc, the painting arc, I was not vibing with the show at all. It just seemed so obtuse and not really saying much.
You didn't like the painting arc?
I thought it was alright. I didn't like the conclusion of it. I didn't think it had enough time to manifest into a big reveal. But I feel like it'll be different for everyone. I really enjoyed the Corrupt Casino and the final, like, student council election arc. I found both of those to be highly more enjoyable compared to the rest. And I feel like taking it arc by arc seems to be the best way to approach the show.
Well, maybe I should finish the casino arc then.
Yes, that's actually why I specifically watched 5 episodes, because that's where the casino arc ended. And yeah, I was going to pick it up from there. I think a reason, based on what I've seen so far, I think a reason why this might be so weird and exhausting is just because even for Nisio Isin, this show is complete nonsense.
Oh yeah.
Like this is Nisio Isin at like his most nonsensical. I mean, I know that his stories tend to have lots of larger than life elements, but like the main character, her thing is that she, as she says, I have really good vision, which means I can see through walls
and see invisible things.
She can literally see through walls.
And then invisible clothing is the hook of the casino arc, and it's just like, what the fuck am I watching? You just have to accept it, even more so than any of his other works.
Right. Yeah, I think the show lives and dies by the main character, and I really, really like her, Mayumi. All of the supporting cast, all the pretty boys and everything, they're like fine. They're fun to have around. They're not very interesting. It's all about Mayumi. And I really enjoyed the painting arc. I think I kind of just enjoyed each subsequent arc more. But the reason for that is not so much anything about the content of them, but just because you can see Mayumi over time, like, integrate into and become more comfortable around the rest of the club. And as she does that, she gets a lot less, like, demure and uptight and a lot more, like, quippy and snappy and poking fun at them all the time and everything. And whenever she's doing that, it's awesome. It's so much fun to just watch her at work.
Absolutely agree.
The last episode, too, takes, like, this really, like, weird, dark, dramatic turn where Shaft completely turns up with the visual presentation with some shots that honestly looked like they were out of Vivy with those, like, super detailed glossy stills, except, like, invert all the colors on them. So instead of being, like, super light and beautiful and shiny, it's, like, dark and grim and, like, really disturbing to look at.
Yeah, I was going to say, this show always looked pretty solid, but the last couple episodes had some jaw-dropping moments. It was fantastic. And like you said, Mayumi was great, and as I think we've talked about before, these aren't mysteries you follow along and try to figure out with the characters. You just are along for Nisho Isen's wild ride, and you just have to accept wherever the cart goes.
It's a detective show, but not really. You're not there to solve it.
You're not a participant. You're just a observer.
Right. It definitely felt, and I think my biggest issue with the show is that it has a lot of things that are relevant in one mystery and then not resolved and then don't come back. Which is because this is just like the beginning of a longer running series and everything. But they did say at the end of the last episode to be continued. So I am hoping that we'll get a sequel where some of that stuff will come back, like the 20s, that like criminal organization that abducts her in the first arc never shows up again.
I kept on every arc after that. I'm like, this is the time for the 20s to show up. Oh,
yes.
No. Okay, maybe the next one. Oh, now it's time for. Nope. They're gone again. What happened
you
to
and
them?
Legs Boy, like whenever they're considering like they're first laying out their theories for what might have happened, and let me say, I think those are the best scenes of the whole show. Is whenever they like go around in a circle to like give their first guess at the mystery, because their theories are always ridiculous, really fun, and animated in like really goofy, cartoony ways. But whenever they're doing that, the Legs Boy is always like, oh, I hope it's the 20s are involved again so that I can look at that super hot lady.
My man. I don't know. You guys can't see this right now, but I'm recording this laying on my back with my legs straight up in the air.
Oh my god.
With your 5-foot-long legs. Yeah. Smooth, pointed up.
Indeed.
Speaking
and then like
of
the relationship between Mayumi and like the antagonist of the casino arc, like it develops a little further in the later arcs, but doesn't really end up anywhere.
Ridiculous, speaking of him, that they bump into each other, he drops some cash, and she's like, oh, look at that adult businessman. He needs this money back. And then later, oh, he's a grade schooler. Oh, a middle schooler. Oh, how the fuck can you not... How is there any confusion?
Yeah. But I thought it was interesting, because something that people were talking about a lot when the show started airing was arguing about, like, all right, like, how do you approach Nisio Isin shows in order to, like, get the most out of them. Like, are you supposed to be paying attention to everything everybody says? Or are you supposed to be, like, along for the ride and then piecing it back together and stuff? And my take on all that, as I think I said in the impressions, was you just kind of go with it until someone says something that's, like, feels like it should be important, but doesn't actually make any sense. And then you just try to remember that thing and wait for them to call back to it. And that's what they ended up doing here with this character, is that in the end of the casino arc, when he's having the card match against the pretty boy leader, the leader goes on one of his, like, dumb rants about aesthetics and everything, and they have a little argument about
aestheticism.
Like, yeah, about, like, whether or not, like, the most important kind of beauty is, like, visible or invisible. And then later on, when Mayumi is having, like, one of her secret one-on-one conversations with that antagonist, they bring that back up again. And he's like, yeah, the most important beauty is, like, beauty which is unseen. You know, like, inner beauty, like, hidden beauty, that kind of stuff. And she's like, oh, well, because my vision is so good and I can see, like, even hidden invisible things, does that mean that, like, true beauty is lost on me? And that's the moment where it, like, calls back, and now you're connecting all the weird shit that doesn't make any sense into, like, an actual character conflict. So I just thought that that was a perfect encapsulation of the way that Nisio dialogue works, and wanted to point that out.
Does that mean she can see inner beauty?
I guess, yeah.
Isn't that the question? Isn't that the
yeah,
galaxy
like, that's the
brain
question, is that, like, her concern, her, like, internal turmoil is about whether or not she's, like, missing out on things because of this gift that she has.
This is all fine and good, but do they ever explain what a pretty boy detective club is?
I don't think so.
No.
They give you, like, a rough 3 rules
for, like,
to live by,
the 3 rules that they go over and over and over again.
Don't forget there is a secret 4th rule.
Be a team.
Very true.
That's right. You have to be a team.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of the rules can be broken.
Yes.
It's not so much rules as guidelines.
There are no rules.
Welcome to Nisio, you see.
Yeah.
For the point, the points don't matter.
I love, and this is more like a Shaft thing. I don't know how they do it or why other studios don't. Their use of color is just, like, incredible.
Oh, God.
I don't understand how they make everything look so good. Why
It's
can't
beautiful.
other studios just copy-paste those color palettes? Just make stuff more, like, vibrant.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake. So much, like, look at every
like,
Silverlink show. It's
compare
so flat.
stills from
Panic.
this show to, like, Mashiro no Odo, where everything is so, like,
Flat.
muted and
Barely
dull.
shaded. Everything is muted. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's washed out.
All I'm saying is that every JoJo fan under the sun is now screaming at you to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
They were
How have you not
always
seen JoJo's Bizarre
screaming, man.
Adventure? It's the greatest series that's ever been happened. What are you doing if you're not watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anyway?
That's what they all say all the time. Every day.
Exactly.
And that's why I won't do it. I won't give them the satisfaction.
I didn't actually know you haven't seen JoJo. That's hilarious. Anyway, yeah, I like Pretty Boy Detective Club. It's fun. Once again, good to see Shaft back on their bullshit.
Hell
basically. Very nice.
Yeah. This is, like, as Nisio's Nisio gets. I think the final takeaway is if you like his style, you'll like this show. If you don't, this will be the worst thing you've ever watched in your life.
It's actually amazing to know that this is a novel, because if I didn't know any better, I would have just assumed Nisio just made this specifically for Shaft. It just feels so tailor-made.
It's all improv.
Yeah.
It's all just written in a drug haze.
I mean,
Those two are a match
these...
made in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, this story in particular just has such an emphasis on aesthetics and beauty and extravagance, and those are the things that Shaft really portrays best, I think.
Allow us to introduce ourselves.
Exactly.
Oh, I also want to point out a fun thing that the Pretty Boy Detective Club, like, everything about it basically is a literary reference to Edogawa Ranpo, who you might know if you've seen that series that I'm forgetting the name of. Yeah, Bungo Stray Dogs.
I feel like I've heard the name.
Who's like a famous Japanese mystery writer.
He's their equivalent of Sherlock Holmes, essentially.
Yeah,
yes,
but there's
the famous mystery writer, Sherlock Holmes.
Shut up, no! I'm sorry. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
There's a group of detectives in like Edogawa Ranpo's books called the Shonen Tanteidan, which is just the boy detective club.
Okay.
And then the name of every single arc is a reference to another Edogawa Ranpo book.
So you're telling me Nisio is just being a huge nerd.
Like,
yes, I'm sure he's
so
well
like the Dark Star that shines only for you. There's a Ranpo book called Dark Star. Pretty Boy in the Attic is a reference to Stalker in the Attic.
You're telling me Nisio is a hack.
Yes,
most unoriginal writer yet. No, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Also, the OP is a bop. It's fucking amazing. It's so cheerful and good.
I love their little dances.
All right. Well, this next one, unfortunately, I think Mason is the only one who's seen it, and I actually felt bad in the first impression because you said this was one of your favorite anime. At the beginning of the season, and then we didn't talk about it at all. So now we're going to give it a chance. You're going to give it a chance, I guess. This is Bakuten, aka Backflip.
Yeah, so this will be pretty quick. It's done by Studio Zexis, who, it's a pretty small studio. Zexis. I'd say this is probably, I know Vivy looks amazing, but as far as pure animation goes, this is probably the best animated show of the season. Particularly with some sweeping camera work during these like rotoscope performances of these characters, which is just your high school club show of guys doing rhythmic gymnastics. And this is a super standard sports show. Like, it just follows the formula, but it got the right answer. Like, everything feels solid. The characters, yes, they're very archetypal, but they are likable. And, for the run of like production IG stuff, like Run with the Wind and Haikyuu, that they've kind of been just flexing on this genre, for such a small studio to come up with an offering that looks solid and has a movie dropping in the future. I thought it was, if you're a big fan of sports, worth your time. It doesn't do anything new. We don't need to get into it any more than that, but I would say I feel like it was overall pretty slept on, and it's worth giving a shot to. So Backflip is pretty decent.
Cool.
Okay.
It's a shame for it that it aired in a season that was so bad.
Yeah. Any other season, it would have been much more, acclaimed. And like I said, it's not that new. I mean, the best thing for it is the Yuki Hayashi music for it. As someone who did rhythm gymnastics growing up and got his start making music for gymnastics programs, that have him come on for the show is just similar with Niso Isin and Shaft. Like, him doing this show was just a match made in heaven. So it looks good, it sounds good, but it's a sports show that you've all seen 1,000 times. So, yeah, give it a shot.
All right.
Cool.
I do remember previewing the season, and I saw like a trailer for this, and yeah, the animation did look pretty crazy. So, I believe you. Probably won't have time to actually get around to watching it, though, but hopefully it'll get some recognition at like the awards this year.
Yeah.
Alright, so this next one was a very popular series, one of the more popular light novels that have come out lately, especially because this is a little bit different from what we're used to with light novel adaptations, because it's not an isekai or a magic fantasy, or although it has a little bit of magic.
There is absolutely no information to be gleaned from the title.
Yes, it is simply called 86.
86.
Part 1.
This was an interesting show.
Part 1, that's right. Yes, we are getting a second season in fall. Which kind of makes sense because this first part kind of told its own story, I would say, without spoiling too much, but yeah.
Yeah, where to start with 86?
It's a fast-paced look into like mech warfare and class divide.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I would say that this is a pretty mediocre story that's greatly elevated by excellent direction.
Oh, I'm glad you noticed as well. Yes, this was very well directed.
Yeah. Especially towards the end as it picked up, like the last couple episodes were incredible. And like the post-credit montage scene for their like pack mule dog robot dying. That was such a good scene. Holy shit.
That was the highlight of the whole show.
Best boy Fido, man.
Fido, yeah. Like, I think that I was pretty down on 86 early through mid of the season. Mm-hmm. I think it falls pretty squarely into the like Hunger Games-ish teen dystopia genre like of stories, which is one that's strictly fine.
Yeah, this is what dystopia is like if you're a teenager.
Right. And it had the same issue that most of those kinds of stories have, which is that the whole premise of it doesn't make any goddamn sense and nobody acts like a real human being.
Yeah.
But it really improved later on. And I think a big part of what got this series to like earn its stripes is that they killed off the majority of the main cast.
Well,
without like obvious death flags or anything, they just left and right were dropping them.
Right. Which is usually the kind of thing where when a show does that, I'm like, wow, I can't believe they did that. Like, major props to them for doing that. That's not why it was good in this case. It was not really good for the show because their deaths were huge moments that shocked me or anything. It was good because there were too many goddamn characters. And once most of them were out of the way, it gave the room for the last 5 to actually develop and become people that I could bother caring about.
I mean, 80% of the show, for the most part, is just 2 characters talking to each other telepathically while everyone else kind of listens in. And as you said, it makes for a huge cast of characters that aren't much there to... They don't do anything but be fodder. And... Right. I absolutely agree. The first 3 episodes, they're not, like, bad, but they're just very generic, and you're just like, I'm not really getting the show. But starting with episode 4 to 8, it really found its footing, really started doing something different and special. And I do think it needs part 2 to really give it closure. There's still a lot about this world that is just kind of just unexplored, and just, you're like, what's with the other nations? How did this country get so racist? Like... They laid the seeds, but it's just all right in that regard. But like you said, when it does start trimming the fat and analyzing just how did this whole situation set up, it really started becoming a little more enjoyable.
Really makes you think.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do for part 2, because part 1 ends in a way that felt really conclusive in a depressing sort of way. So whatever they do for part 2 is going to be very different.
Yeah, I guess they'll do like a soft reset of sorts. But I'm pretty much like 1-to-1 with you guys on this. I thought this was, I mean, it was mediocre but adequate, I would say. This is one of those things where it's like, I'm only getting further and further away from the target demographic, so I'm just gonna probably seem like a hater. But like I said, it's like, this is what dystopia is like if you're a teenager. This is like really out there and edgy if you're young and haven't read a whole lot of dark fiction or of sorts.
It's the Maze Runner of anime.
Right.
It's like...
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's like, I was excited for 86 at first because, you know, as I said, it seems different from a lot of mainstream light novels. But then at the end of the day, it's like, it's still a light novel. It's still for kids, essentially. But I do think that towards the middle, it started to, you know, find its footing. And I think the turning point for this show was when Lena had the conversation with that guy in the cathedral. And for once, it actually seemed like I could kind of understand someone else in this series, where that guy said that basically he basically pointed out that whatever they do, like, there's no point in fighting the system, because at the end of the day, it's just the rich nobles who are just built it out of pure selfishness. And so at least it gave some sort of acknowledgement that, like, okay, maybe not everybody is completely fucking brain dead in this, and Lena's just like the one decent person. I'm not defending this guy necessarily, but at least I understand him now. And
he's like, yeah, it's all a PR stunt. We can't look bad. We gotta get rid of all the evidence by killing these guys.
Right. And that motivated Lena to just finally take matters into her own hands and, you know, become much stronger as a person. And so she starts contributing a lot more. And like Sinra said, you start to trim down the cast and start focusing on the actual main characters. And so, yeah, by the end of it, I was enjoying it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they do go ahead, Mason.
I was going to say, I like the achronological episode structure where it kind of starts you and then pulls you back and you're not really sure how things have gotten to where they are. And I know using the E word these days is a little thrown around. I think the show could have been a lot more edgy and try hard about, oh, it's violence and oh, they're dying. Wow, isn't that so cool? Uh-huh. And I thought they restrained it a bit and it worked for that.
That's what I was going to say. I think they handled the, like, hopeless morbidity of the situation in a surprisingly, like, mature and thoughtful way. Where I know some people were complaining that, like, there's tonal whiplash from, like, the dumb teen hijinks scenes to the battle scenes.
Yeah.
Which I agree with, but I think it was handled well in other ways. And that, you know, all of the 86 are out there, like, knowing that they're just going to die eventually doing this, one way or another. And, like, if they survive long enough, eventually they get sent out on this final, like, suicide mission that's just, like, go that way until you die.
Yeah.
And I thought there were some good scenes, like, when characters started dying, of, like, Lena trying to be like, oh, I'm so sorry over the comm, and everyone being like, shut the fuck up. Like, we don't want to hear from you right now. Like, our friend just fucking died in front of us. Give us some space. And she's like, oh, I just want to be helpful and supportive. And like, get out of here.
Yeah, those were probably the best. Some of the
There's a sense of acceptance that the characters have in their situation and fate that lets them be the kids that their age would indicate, and lets them relax and grow instead of just always wallowing in what's going on.
Yeah. So it, like, the show didn't let Lena just be like the rich savior figure that she wanted to be, and forced her to come to terms with the fact that she's not allowed to do that, either, like, both by the realities of the system and by the fact that that's not, like, actually a helpful thing to them for her to try to be. And then also, once they get that final suicide mission order, the, like, kind of grim resignation, but still, like, upbeat way that they go about carrying it out as they leave the base for the last time and everything, I thought that was handled really well. I thought they had an appropriate amount of gravitas without trying to make it like, we're going off to die. You know, grim, edgy sort of content.
Yeah. And I also liked that they didn't make it too much about, like they didn't make it wish fulfilling for Lena, if that makes sense. Where in the middle and towards the end, she starts to, like, really develop a strong bond with her squadron. And so when they kind of accomplish their goals and they start setting out on their journey to essentially finally have their own freedom, it comes at the expense of her, like, having to leave her friends, and so she's broken up about it. But the show presents it in a really nice, contrasting way where you get, like, this nice music and all the characters are talking about, like, wonderful sights they're seeing. Meanwhile, Lena's just, like, running 10 miles through the city crying. And it was, and I'm glad that she didn't get, like, this payoff where it's like, at the end of the day, she gets rewarded and, like, the 86 just continue fighting so they can all stay around and be friends, and, like, she gets to be comfortable and all that. Like, I like that she loses things from this as a consequence.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited for part 2, because I want to see what's next for Lena. after, like, she basically fails to do anything at all in all of season 1.
Yeah, only at the end when she kind of goes against the grain and, like, gets the mortars when she wasn't allowed to. Do you feel like she's finally stepping out of the confines of this system? And yes, I think Jerome and what was her friend's name? Starts with an A, the one with the really messy desktop.
Oh, I don't remember.
Whatever. The scientist, like her arc, a weird character changing seemed a little strange. And the whole, like, sci-fi, like, oh, this person developed the ability for telepathy. And you're like, okay, that was not really the answer I was looking for. I did like how each episode ended with, like, a still frame, like, painted over of the last shot of the show. And it, like, lets you sit with those emotions for a little bit instead of jumping to some ending visuals. And I like that touch.
Yeah, the EDs were cool. Sawano soundtrack, it sounds like his other soundtracks, but, it helped. It helped elevate the atmosphere, as he does. Yeah. So that's cool. So 86, it was all right. It was all right. I think it lived up to the high profile that it has. And at least we're hooked on it enough to watch part 2 when that comes this fall. Panic, I take it.
I'll be watching it.
Yeah, Panic, I take it Panic didn't watch this at all.
I did not.
Okay, thank you. And something else I know you didn't watch is Super Cub, because I think only Mason and I watched this. And it was basically the same show that it started off with. It was quiet, it was pleasant, it was endearing and kind of adorable, and it's kind of it.
Couldn't really...
Yeah, it was just so splendid. And we talked about, how good the animation of Bakuten was, how good the visuals of Vivy was, how good the directing of 86 was. I think Super Cub's claim to fame was the sound design and color usage. I thought both of those were exceptional. It's still the cute girls doing cute things without, like, tropey, overdone moe girls. It just was so endearing. The character growth of Koguma, the main character, was phenomenal. Going from this recluse, shy, shut-in individual to this kind of almost, like, snarky, whippy, like, explorer was phenomenal. And I think if you watch one episode of this show and you're like, I'm not really feeling it, that's fine. That's fine. Like, the show isn't going to do anything different.
Nope.
But for what it is as a nice yashike and making you want to go on a road trip and get a cub and explore the world, I think it succeeded.
Yeah. It's very much like lots of yashike, and probably the closest comparison, maybe this is just recency bias, would be Eurocamp, because it's just about enjoying some really small things in life and having these small personal victories. Like, I took a different route from school today, and that was really exciting. And I went to this store for the first time. It's like, I can get behind this. So
it gives your life a little meaning, a little aim. You meet friends along the way with shared interests. It grows you as a person. It had all those marks.
Yeah. So you're definitely going to know very early on if you're the kind of person who would enjoy this series. And
the real Super Cup was the friends we made along the way.
Exactly.
The real friends we made along the way were the people we put into our front baskets and drive through the freezing cold as they're about to die.
What?
Which happens in this show. It gets wild, but it's not a big deal.
I did hear that there was like 1 or 2 episodes where people were just like, okay, that was kind of fucked up. Maybe I only got halfway
like an almost death arc.
Okay. Damn,
Comes out of nowhere.
I didn't know Super Cup was so edgy.
Something about the art style I just really can't get into. Like I looked at it, I was like, sounds nice. And I look at the images and it's all very gray and brown.
Well, that is the point.
Yes, which is kind of the, I guess, shtick of the show, where at the beginning her life is so just bland that the world is represented in that way.
And I'm looking at screenshots from episode like 11.
Well, it's all snowy then. There's no color in the snow.
It's very muted. Kind of looks... it could be nice, I guess. I could check it out. I like
fine
comfy,
at what it is.
Chill shows, I guess. I do like that.
If you like that, then give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Someday. Plan to watch.
Very.
Yeah, it's definitely not as vibrant as something like Nanan Biori or even Laid Back Camp, but it has its place.
Yeah. All right, and another sort of relaxing, fun, cute series is Slime 300. I've been
Your
killing
favorite
slimes
show of
for
all time.
300 years and maxed out my level. I haven't even finished it. I still haven't seen the last 2 episodes.
You haven't seen the hat's final form?
Unfortunately, no.
You only got to so you see the hat die. Fucking die. Get cut in half.
Yeah. Worst episode ever. Literally cried. This series is alright. It was okay.
It's very cute. It's one of those shows where, we gotta go see someone about a problem. Let me guess. They're gonna be a cute waifu, and they're gonna love you.
Yeah.
And they're gonna come home with you and live with you forever. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Crazy how this witch managed to live alone for 300 years, not talking to a single person. And then one day, everybody just can't leave her alone.
Kind of have to accept that, I guess. But, it's all in good fun, I think.
It was a pretty fun show, and Aoi Yuki is always the voice acting of the show was amazing. Mm-hmm. And the waifus are cute. The best one is, of course, Beelzebub.
Well, for once, I actually agree with you. She was the best. She was the best character.
Tan demon, white hair, great. Anytime she gets summoned, she lands in the same bathtub because the spell is busted.
Yeah, she's like the character who's like, she's not all upbeat and happy. She has kind of an attitude, and so she's kind of like the one to call out everyone's bullshit. Not like in a mean way, you know. Everyone's friends. Everyone this show is all just about being friendly and happy and having fun.
In the last episode, they run kind of a maid cafe, and she shows up like, "You didn't invite me."
That's actually funny because that's like chapter 2 in the light novel. I actually read that part.
No, it was chapter 1 in volume 2. Not like the second chapter of the whole story. Fucking idiot. Stupid ass fucking idiot.
It's so funny.
So I guess I have seen all of this.
Because there's some kind of festival or whatever.
Marking has completed.
And they're setting up this maid cafe for a festival, and they're like, let's just do it for fun. And then they're shocked that it's super successful. Oh, it's just the witch. Everybody loves her. And all her hot friends dressed up as maids. Wow. Where did all these people come from? Why would they come here? And then Beelzebub shows up and just becomes like the best manager of all time.
Uh-huh.
How many of the jokes in the show revolve around comparing her breast size to the others?
2 or 3. It happens a couple times.
Okay, there is they do tone down on it massively as the show goes on, but I will say, it gave me a fucking headache when it was happening so often in episode 3
It's a tired
or so.
trope. You can't have a small boob girl MC without have her be envious of other boobs.
They did that once every episode in Elena, and even then I thought it was annoying. Just fucking stop. We need to put an end to this fucking bullshit. We need to start standing small girls, alright?
Little.
We
need to stand the patan.
But everybody loves these characters, though. Everybody is fine with them. It's just a joke about them being insecure. They need to respect themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Practice some self-love.
See, that's why Elena was such a great waifu. She was flat, and she was also like, yeah, but I'm hot as fuck anyways.
but
fuck you.
Yeah, but then that her being envious of big boobs was like a chink in her armor, I guess. It's like her one insecurity is small boobs.
This is fucking dumb. Stop.
Her one weakness.
It doesn't matter because her hat is the size of fucking Russia, so whatever.
It gets bigger and bigger, and it's some of the screenshots I have posted throughout the season is like it's shocking. It's not Photoshop.
It's funny that there's never any attention drawn to it. It's just gigantic sometimes.
She'll just be standing in profile, and the hat is literally like she could be in there thrice.
Just the size of the room.
I mean, I wish my hats were sleeping bag capable.
That's convenient. Yeah.
I'll just get one of those big, Jamaican beanies that keeps all the dreads in there. Just pull that down over your entire body. Anyway.
Yeah, once again, you'll know if you like this show in the beginning.
It's just cute and fun.
Don't take it too seriously. It will be All right. So now, another one. You'll really know if you like this one in the beginning. It's fucking Nagatoro.
Speaking of being envious of big boobs.
Is that what Nagatoro's like?
Well, of course, she's a small-boobed main character. Of course she's envious of big boobs.
Fucking high school. Who gives a shit?
Well, because the president of the art club is fucking stacked, and she shows up at the end and is like a major threat, I guess. I don't really know what to say about Nagatoro that wasn't said at first, except towards the end of it, it gets... Anyone who's read the manga, and I knew this because I read the manga, I'm completely up to date, it gets much more chill on the bully thing. The bullying is only really a thing for the first, 10... Like, for realsies, only 10 chapters. Like,
so I guess it lives up to the title of Don't Bully Me,
Don't Bully Me, Nagatoro. It becomes more like teasing, I guess. It's like she's not making him cry. More like poking fun at him every now and then. And he gets more assertive and starts being less of a pussy. And
okay, I was about to ask if he becomes any less of a completely miserable, useless sack of shit.
It's a slow burn for him. He gets there eventually. And she gets less and less mean, and like they have the unspoken. They kind of realize that they both kind of like each other. It's like it's like the fucking Invincible meme. It's like, do you think I come here to hang out with you every day because I hate you? Think, senpai, think. But then her friends show up and they start having a lot more hijinks centered around like the whole group, and I think it's a really cute show. And some people disagree because they think she's a mean-spirited piece of shit. Which at first she is. But she gets better. It's like,
it's my trigger, as Smurf would say.
Better.
It gets better later.
Well, fucking, I mean, you can't even... Of course it gets...
That's the joke, yes.
A show starts somewhere, and then the characters change. If stuff doesn't change, then it's a bad show. I'm not sure about this term, gap moe. Is that what they call it? When a girl is mean, but then she's also cute?
Yeah, but in a different way.
There's a couple different uses of it. But
is this gap moe? Where she's like
You're going to have to ask a
this is just
professional
her being
she's like a
hot
tomboy martial arts girl, but then she's also like a maiden.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I feel like the show kind of always presents her in some sort of attractive light, though. So yes. I don't know if I'd say that.
That's true. She's not like the classic tomboy with short hair and dumb outfits. But she is like sports girl who kind of hangs out, like, behaves in a more boyish way. Yeah.
Whatever.
It's also, I would say, it's a big upgrade from the manga in terms of how it looks. The manga art is kind of iffy. Like, the anatomy kind of sucks. This is, it's a lot more consistent in the show. Like, how long someone's legs are and like, not looking completely squished when they stand up.
I think it would be great if guy was like bullied by some like weird shape-shifting monster. I think that'd be pretty funny.
Well, she kind of is. Like, she has, you will know about Noodle Toro. It's like when she gets, like, her arms
the wiggly
noodles,
arms.
Wiggly arms, and she does it with her whole body, too.
Don't toy with me, Miss Cthulhu.
Miss Cthulhu Toro.
So I guess I want to ask, say someone comes up to you on the street and they're like, hey, I heard a lot of talk about this Miss Nagatoro show. Should I read the manga or should I watch the anime? What would you advise them on?
I mean, the answer would probably usually be read the manga. Like, pretty much for any show.
Okay. I wasn't sure just because of the visuals, the voice acting, and maybe some of the arcs that they cleaned up or cut a bit.
In the manga, you don't have to listen to Senpai's voice actor.
That's a very good point.
But you will miss out on everybody else's voice actor, and everyone else does a fantastic job. But Senpai's voice actor is just unbearable. Who
did they get to voice Nagatoro?
It's Deku, right? It's Deku's voice actor, and he's just...
Oh god, I hate that guy.
All my homies hate Deku's voice actor. he's
Deku,
kind of
not the voice actor.
unbearable
I don't
as
even know who
this
voices
character
Deku.
because he's just doing the pathetic Deku voice. Not chat Deku, but just like, oh man, oh geez, Rick. That voice.
Who voices Nagatoro?
Sumire Uesaka.
I don't know that
who
name.
I think is also voicing Jahi in the next season, Jahi-sama.
Oh.
Those shows have similar energy.
Oh,
They
no.
have a similar
Same
designs
vibes.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same fucking show.
kinda.
But if it was Josh and Chan Dropkick.
Well, it's the same show, but with no like male MC, I guess. No love interest. Yeah. I think it's excellent. It's good animation. It's very cute. It's a good little rom-com. Lots of meme faces. Watch at
Okay.
your own risk.
I'll take your word for it. Take
You
his
may
word for it,
develop-
everybody.
Bullying fetishes.
Or you
knows?
just had it all along.
Or you
Didn't
will find out
realize
that
it.
you had it all along.
Exactly. The real fetish was in you the whole time.
All right, now Panda, keep going. You got the Spider Show.
I just finished Spider. My one big complaint for Spider. Well, I like it overall. Let's start there. I do like this show overall. My one big complaint with it is the pacing. It is so slow. I just finished the last episode, and just now she's gotten her arachne body with like a human half on top. It's like,
Oh, so
Jesus
she
Christ.
finally becomes like the weird Death Note girl?
Yeah, she white hair, very very cute. Finally,
Are we back to talking about your fetishes?
yes.
What is Panic not talking about his fetishes?
This is my other fetish show. The pacing is terrible. I feel like they could have covered all of what these two cores covered. Could have been one easily. Easy. No, easy clap. But yeah. They spend way too long on the human segment. Like, remember I told you that it's like an asynchronous story thing?
Yeah.
Where one half is like 10 years in the future, and the other half is... They're 10 years removed. So whenever we see the spider, it's just the spider, that's in the past. Whenever we see all the kids being warriors or whatever, that's in the future. And they keep doing that in the second half too. And I think that's my favorite like aspect of the show. Like that you get pieces from both storylines and you kind of have to connect them. Like for a long time, everybody on the discussion threads were theorizing that the Demon Lord, the cute little Shuten doji looking Demon Lord character, was the spider. And that the other people at the table were like aspects of her because she can kind of split her mind. She can make like mental clones or whatever. That's a big part of it. Turns out that it's kind of true because at some point she does like a mental attack on that character, and now a part of her lives in the Demon Lord. But she is actually the white-haired lady who kills the main human guy's brother. And that's why he's the hero now. So you kind of...
It's always so funny for me with series like this and Slime and that whole kind of genre where I hear about them when they are first starting and like little stuff is happening that's like super, I don't know, just like unremarkable. And then I stop paying attention, and then a few seasons later I hear people talk about them again. I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the same show?
Bro, it gets even crazier. Because in the future, the humans have made their way to the Elven nation. They made their way through the labyrinth and are now in the Elf country. Where they find all their other classmates, the other reincarnations. Because the elves are kind of hoarding the reincarnations for reasons we don't really know yet. But it's not just like they're inviting people to go there. They will go kidnap them. They will just steal them away from wherever the fuck they were and force them to live in elf land. Led by this elf guy called Potimas. And then in the...
Potassium.
Potty mouth.
Potty mouth, yes. And then they go back to the spider times, and she's meeting up with him, and one of the other characters is a vampire, and the elf is like trying to kill her because there's a prophecy that blah 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 blah, and like all villains trying to prevent a prophecy, it goes to shit. It's a tale as old as time.
The prophecy always wins.
Yes, if there's a prophecy that tells of your downfall, don't even try and stop it. You're only going to accelerate it.
Why didn't we learn that in Vivy in episode 1?
Vivy would be a lot better if it was just, so I'm a spider.
Yes.
So what?
So I'm a mecha idol. So what? So in the past, all these... I don't even remember their name or their affiliation or whatever. They're fighting the elves, and suddenly fucking mech suits are there. Like big walking tanks with missiles. And Spider fights Potty Mouth, and gets a good hit in, and half his face fall off, and he's a Terminator. It's fucking ridiculous.
This is too much.
He dies, and we're showed that there's like a future room with like the elves have computers too. There's like a room full of like cloning tanks, and he has like extra bodies. And Spider can do kind of the same thing by laying a bunch of eggs, and then whenever she dies, she plants a mental clone into one of the eggs, and she's reborn as that. What else?
I'm kind of glad I didn't watch this because hearing about it secondhand is just even more
so much better.
There is a skill, because they all have skills. There's one called Taboo, and once you hit level 10, you obtain like secret dark knowledge of the past. And Spider did this pretty early, so she knows that the world kind of went to shit once with like technology. Everything, it was like a Judgment Day or whatever. And Potimas was at the head of that. And then in the last episode, the main human hero also gets that skill. And now he's like writhing on the ground like, oh, this dark knowledge, I can't handle it. So now he knows what's up with the world, and he knows that Potimas is evil. So by the very end, Demon Lord and Spider team up and with the vampire, and they form the beginning of this council of Demon Lord and underlings that we see in the future timeline. And they're the good guys because they're fighting the evil elf. And that's my TED talk about So I'm a Spider, so what? It's like 500D chess, but it's stupid, and I like it.
Awesome.
Well,
so we talked about Aoyuki in Slime Witch 300 being Azusa. Is Spider just an excuse for her to just go off the rails?
Oh my god, yes. In the first half of the show, there's almost no other characters. And she's just talking to herself the whole time. I got so fucking sick of it. Like, I like her.
I remember you being like, she's gonna leave the cave one of these episodes.
And then she makes like clones of herself in her own head for her to dialogue with. It's like, no. You can't talk more. What are you doing? Have her meet people. Have her talk to somebody. And now she has friends, so that's good. Like, Jesus Christ. If she's paid by the word, she's a millionaire now.
yeah.
Well, she's doing like 50 shows this season,
she's doing so much.
She must be a workaholic or something. She's always
even did a Tanya
like 5
OVA
shows
this season.
Yeah.
Just pumping out content. She's a content machine. But yeah, this show is fucking bonkers.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I think you got your point across. So there you go. There's your recommendation for Spider.
Or a warning.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, now I guess this could also be either a recommendation or a warning because this is my show. It's The World Ends With You.
It's Twee.
The animation. Twee.
Yeah.
Which we never did any more follow-up podcasts about.
Which wasn't intentional. We did plan on doing others, but
and I kind of forgot to keep up with it.
I completely forgot about those too, honestly.
Yeah, it was like scheduling issues, and also I think we just would have actual episodes coming out, so it's like whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. No, not a big deal. You didn't miss out on much. Yeah. So greatest game ever. 6 out of 10 anime. It was okay, I guess.
Oh, okay. That's too bad.
Yeah, I thought I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
It definitely felt like an adaptation of a game.
Yes.
There were a lot of points in there which I thought were kind of funny to observe, where they're like, all right, we've got to go. We figured out our next move. Let's go to this place. And then they get there, and there's like a cursory 15 seconds of them fighting just like the generic mobs, and then the plot gets to continue.
Yeah.
It's like, it's very clearly just the points where you're like, all right, and here you have a random encounter.
Mm.
Yep.
It was a good time, though.
Is the sequel game out yet? When is that coming out?
The 27th.
Of July?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a demo out for it on the Switch right now, so you can go play it. So stop listening to this podcast and go play Neo Twooey.
Oh shoot, I need to download that.
Yeah.
Same.
So Senris, did this at least get you interested in either playing the original game or checking out the new one?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that's been on my radar for a long time. And I just like never had, like the push to actually get around to it.
Mm.
I thought this was really engaging, and if I get the sign off from you, someone who has played and cares about the original game, that this could serve as like a replacement for that to go into the next one, then I think that's probably what I'll do.
I think this would probably work as a cheat sheet. Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah. So I think that was ultimately their goal with this. And as for my, feelings about this whole anime, I have a more in-depth and better said explanation on my anime list. I wrote a review for it on my anime list. So go check that out, I guess, if you just want to know my full thoughts. But basically the TLDR is like, it's basically like you want to explain, it's like I want to explain why I love this so much, and it just involves like every single aspect, but we don't have enough time to explain everything. So it's like I just kind of try generalizing and speedrunning the points that I want to make and saying why it's good, and I only kind of make my point. That's kind of what it was like watching this. It's like, yeah, there are some things here that's like, yep, this is what it's like in the game, and that's pretty cool, but it just didn't hit the same. So it was like, it just kind of goes halfway, I guess. So I don't think this is an adaptation that should make anyone like, it shouldn't turn you away from the game. Hopefully not. I don't think it's like that bad.
I am definitely
it's
interested
not bad
in
at all.
Playing it. Yeah, it does look interesting. I'm pensive about hearing that the Switch port is not great.
I still haven't gotten around to that, so I can't confirm.
That it's very much a game made for the DS, right?
Yeah, that's how
and
I feel
don't
about it.
have one. So, like, a solution would be watching... Like, if this show gets the plot of the game across pretty well, right?
It gets it across. Yeah, I mean, it's the plot of it. The thing is, like, I don't love Twooey specifically, like, for the plot necessarily. And a big issue that I had with this anime is that all of the dialogue in this, like, was about the plot. Like, it was very expository.
Okay, so it's like all the flavor dialogue and stuff like that.
It cuts out all of the character stuff, basically.
Yeah, basically.
It's a big difference.
Okay, then I probably will have to play it.
Yeah, in fact, like, this anime, like, felt very serious and very, like, kind of like everyone's always getting down to business and getting shit done, whereas most of the game is actually really like lighthearted and fun.
I could imagine like any, like, I love Mass Effect. I could imagine a movie or a series about Mass Effect being very serious, when in actuality the games are enjoyable because of the silly character interactions and like lighthearted moments.
Yeah, you get a ton of that in the actual game. It's like, it's not necessarily that you don't take it seriously, but it's like, it just kind of, there are just lots of things in the game that kind of make you just not take it as seriously and just make it a thing where, it's just fun. It's a lot of fun to just be immersed in this world and get involved with these characters and stuff like that. And you just don't really get that in the anime because it just has to cut out all of the stuff that makes it a video game, essentially. And you just get the basic plot of it, which I do think is cool. Like, I do think The World Ends With You has a really cool plot. I do think they got across some of the plot twists like really, really well, some of those surprises, and some of the character moments are nailed. And I will say that my favorite character, the one that I was hyping up so much, is the one character that they pretty much got exactly right. Like
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm very happy for you.
Hey, we take that.
Yeah, Shoma Namimoto, greatest character of all time. He's just a guy who yells into a megaphone, he yells math puns, and doesn't give a shit about anything except making art. And his art is just weird junk piles that everyone looks at like, what the fuck is this shit? And he's like, you don't get it because you're a fucking idiot. Fuck you. So,
I will say,
he's the best character
he was
ever.
fun.
He has a 10 out of 10 character design. He looks great.
All of them have 10 out of 10 character designs. I mean, this guy's like so popular that he's a playable character in the new one, so...
When will he be
Oh, really?
dismissed?
That's great.
Yeah, he comes back, so... yeah, so that's like the one thing that this anime adapted best, coincidentally, or maybe just purposefully. So yeah, I liked it overall. It was fine. I'm glad it exists. I wish other people liked it better, but I guess I understand their complaints. Whatever. Hopefully, it'll get people interested in this game, though. All right. So next up, back to anime that people actually watched. It's Shadow's House.
Shadow's House. This one was all over the place for me.
I know.
Mason agrees.
I will preface this by saying that Shadow's House was kind of the decadence of the podcast for me, where in the first impressions, I tried explaining it and actually got a lot of things wrong, because immediately when that episode went up, a bunch of people were adding me in the Discord like, you fucking idiot, this is actually what happened. And I'm like, I'm so sorry,
But then it turns out you actually got them right all along.
I kind of did, actually.
Yeah.
And whatever, it didn't matter, it didn't affect my appreciation for the series anyway, so whatever.
There was a lot to like here. But I don't think it was a perfect show.
Definitely not.
In particular, I think the debut arc dragged for a really long time.
That is my biggest complaint about this.
Yeah.
Like, I loved the first several episodes. They were really great. And then, like, when the debut started, I liked it a lot. Like, when they were all in the room and the guy was, like, testing them quietly, and, you know, they all had to, like, demonstrate how well they could mimic their shadows and all. Like, that was all really cool. And then they go into this fucking Harry Potter Goblet of Fire maze, and Emilio's just like, yo, bro, you want a fucking orange? Yo, oranges, bro, I got some fucking oranges. Yo, I got some oranges, and I got some oranges. And it just goes on for, like, 5 episodes. And it's like,
yeah.
It was fun, but not what I came to the show for.
The whole debut was so poorly rationalized that it made all the actions infuriating. It felt like watching someone play like a point-and-click puzzle game, which is nowhere near as fun playing yourself.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this guy goes to a box.
That's a good comparison.
Oh, he just takes the corners off, and that contains a mold to make a key to unlock it. And it's just like, why? I don't care about any of this. Like, it just doesn't tell me anything. It just felt so contrived I don't know, it felt so unsatisfying.
A big part of what drove me crazy about that arc, too, was that there are so many scenes intercutting it of Edward and the third floor shadows watching it happen, being like, yes, very interesting. This is going exactly as we planned.
Yeah.
This will work perfectly into our mysterious, nebulous plots.
Yes.
And they're like, I think I would be really interested in everything that was happening, too, if I had any fucking idea what you were talking about. But you're a mystery show, so you refuse to give us any information about what's happening. I mean, so I'm just watching these kids bumble around for no reason.
Yes, interesting.
And not only am I not interested in what's happening because I don't understand it, I have to watch these scenes of people gloating about how interesting it is once you understand it.
Yeah, I what I liked about the early part of the show was just how it was kind of drip feeding you all these different mysteries, and you know they were just building up to this setting and this story that was really, really interesting. And then they just showed way too much of the third floor characters. Like, if they showed them to us one time, over the entire season. Like, that would have been it. Like, the first time I saw them, I'm just like, oh, cool. These guys look crazy. These look interesting. They've all got, like, weird soot powers and stuff. Like, awesome. I want to know more about them, but then not actually. Like, there's a time and place, and this first season was not that.
Thank you, Professor Oak.
The show definitely had potential. Like, I kind of equate it to, like, Princess Principal, if you've ever watched that show, which is, like, you got these cute Genki girls in, like, the dark Victorian setting, but Princess Principal is, like, a fun, like, spy adventure that, like, makes sense, whereas this is, like, a supernatural mystery horror thing, which didn't, like, always clashed with what was going on with, like, Emilico, which your mileage may vary on this show depending on how you digest her, but also, like...
She did grow on me a lot. I was complaining about her in the Impressions, but I like her a lot better.
Yeah, she definitely improved. But then you have, like, scenes where, like, these face-devouring, like, spider black soot creatures come in, and it's like, oh, wow, it's an intense battle, and you have this, like, shy, meek doll, like, spritzing water, and she's like, it doesn't reach. And I'm like, is this supposed to be funny? Is this supposed to be, like, terrifying?
Yeah.
Like, it felt like it didn't quite know what mood it wanted to go for. The animation was just kind of average, and while the show was unique, it never really jived with me as much as I wanted it to, and I think it had potential to.
Mm-hmm. That scene you mentioned where they're, like, squirting the water and everything, that's a great example, because that was a really strange scene. I don't know what kind of reaction they were hoping to get out of it.
Like, if the show leaned into the horror, it had potential. If it leaned into just being a fun adventure, it could have had that. Like, go around the house looking for the source of a suit. That was, like, it had its moments, but it just felt like it was constantly tripping over itself.
Yeah. I think overall, I did enjoy it, because I think it did a pretty good job of being, like, a supernatural mystery thriller, aside from the clumsy handling of that one arc. So once we got through that, and we did finally learn some answers to literally anything that was happening, then I was really happy. The scene towards the end where the two of the third floor shadows, like, go down into the town and, like, exact tribute by taking 3 children to implant the soot fairies into or whatever. That was a good scene.
That was really cool.
That was intense. I thought that, like, I thought that maybe not that exact episode, but something like that should have happened way sooner. And that's my only complaint with the show, is that if I knew anything that was happening before having to sit through the whole debut, then I would have been a lot happier than I was.
There were just so many scenes where Edward was like, oh, I'm doing this because I think you're an evil threat, and it's going to boost my status in the hierarchy, and no one will believe you because I'm an adult and you're a child. Ha ha ha, I'm so evil. Now I'm going to randomly leave the room for 1 minute for no reason to let you set up a plan to foil me, so when I come back, you can have this cute little thing drop on my head and distract. It just felt so... Like, why? Like, why did any of that happen? Like, what was the point of it?
Sounds like Dungeons and Dragons.
It just...
I'm gonna leave, so you have exactly 10 turns to decide.
Exactly. It felt like just game mechanics that just... They were there for events to happen, but not make much sense. And yes, the OP and ED of the show were phenomenal. But besides that, like, I don't know if I'll remember a lot of what happened in the show.
Nai became my favorite song ever over the course of the season. I have not stopped listening to this fucking song.
That's the one thing
it's the greatest song ever.
It's just the ED.
That's the ending.
Is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I will say, in particular defense of this series overall, I've heard that the last 2 episodes were anime original.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
That could kind of make
makes
sense.
a lot of sense.
The debut ends and they're like, we gotta fill time. Pulls shirt collar. Let's just have a arbitrary kidnapping, and then the guy's gonna get dismissed from the house, and then they're like, nope. He's still there.
Yeah. That was what was so weird about it. It's just like, all right, you just, like, broke, like, 30 different rules, and we should banish you, but we're just not going to for some reason.
Yeah, that's, like, it didn't really bother me that much in the moment, because I thought it was like, oh, an interesting look at like how Lord Grandfather is above even these other people that we've seen as being like the top dogs, where they're like, here's your punishment, Lord Grandfather, and he's like, no. But now that I know it's anime original, it's like, oh, here's this whole arc that ends with Edward getting punished, but then his punishment is changed to be no punishment, because none of this ever actually happened.
Probably,
that makes a lot of sense.
God, just that whole debut thing really just irked me, because I was all right with the show up until that. I don't know why. It just, everything about, choose your implements over these 20 random things where you have no knowledge for just arbitrary sakes. And like
then
how they
turns out at the end, they're like, oh, there was one implement you were supposed to pick, and you didn't, because
for no
there's
reason.
no way of knowing.
Yeah, you gotta grab the keys, and you fucked up, you dumb little idiot. And you're just like, oh my goodness, why?
Right.
But yeah, so this is the one thing, though, I don't know why I just said that. The one thing I will say, I definitely want to pick up the manga, because the manga looks beautiful. It's in full color, and it just looks fantastic.
Okay. Maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah.
And if someone came to me and said, oh, they made season 2 and it is really solid, I would believe them. Like, there is still potential here.
Yeah, like the Inspector effect.
But at this stage, I don't know if I could recommend it.
I would. I personally still enjoyed it. At least there was still something, like, pretty much in every episode that I enjoyed. You know, even in the overly long debut arc, I still liked how, like, the older characters had like these weird soot powers that were just like so specific, and like the one where the one who has a bird, like they just create this bird and then it's so fucking amazing. It's a bird, it's a messenger bird that comes down and then it just like slams into the ground in this fucking puddle. It just explodes and then writes out a message. And even Edward is just like, fun. That's some fucking bullshit right there. Why is it like this?
Why did you need to screech in my face right before?
Yeah. It's just so over the top, but aesthetically I think it's so cool. So I'm happy. I just realized I posted this manga panel in the fucking chat about VTubers. Why am I even here? Lol. Alright.
No wonder I didn't see it.
Yeah, I was like, why isn't anybody commenting on my
It's baller.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Alright, but speaking of things that are aesthetically cool and shows that are baller, we saved the best for last, I think.
It's time.
Time to talk about the show that really did creep up on everybody and is still not getting all the attention it deserves. So we are going to gush for a while about Odd Taxi.
Odd Taxi. Fuck yeah. This show, man, where do you even start?
It was okay.
Let's start with the fact that it is currently Saturday, and originally we were going to record this episode on last Tuesday, and what happened is I picked this day because I figured, I'm like, well, people really like Odd Taxi, and Odd Taxi is going to end on Monday, so let's record on Tuesday, right? And so, on Monday, the last episode of Odd Taxi came out, and then Sinris started flipping shit in a way that I've never seen them do before. And so, the internet, gets set on fire about the Odd Taxi finale, so I'm like, oh shit, I haven't seen, any of Odd Taxi, I need to watch all of this. And so, we got together and we're like, hey, can we push this back a few days so I can watch Odd Taxi? And so here we are, finally. And I did complete Odd Taxi, and it was worth it. It was all worth it. Right. I'm glad it worked out this way.
Yeah.
Simply incredible.
Referencing me flipping out like Maz has never seen before. This is the first score I've given above an 8 since 2018.
Yeah.
So... It's a good show. I like it.
It's good.
Well, maybe you're just too picky. I don't know.
I mean, that's entirely possible. But yeah, I gave Odd Taxi a 9. It's just a perfect show. It does everything right.
Perfect show, 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
You love to see it. You love to see it happen.
Well,
9.9 gang, here we go.
As you'll learn in an episode we have coming out once I get around to editing it, the difference for me between the 9s and the 10s is about, like, personal impact. Like, quality-wise, they're the same.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same way. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might feel that way, too, because I'm actually, like, kind of griping in my head. I'm like, what's holding it back from a 10?
I'm actually. In the same, I've been in the same boat since it ended. I kept up with it all while it aired, and it ended. I was just like blown away. I'm like, this could be a 10, but I don't.
I think honestly, if it stays at the same level it's at in my head for like a month or two, then it'll probably get moved up.
Once I rewatch it, it might be a 10 because I'm expecting to see a lot of stuff. Like notice.
Yeah, so I rewatched just the first episode immediately after the last one came out. I couldn't believe it.
It's insane.
There's so much stuff. The first shot of the whole fucking show is them tossing the body. It's like the cat has been in the opening
is the whole time. With the bricks.
Episode 1 plants so many seeds and hints and clues and plots.
And the very first
before they even happen.
And the very first shot you see of Shirakawa is her stealing medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like before you even know it, you're already seeing the manifestation of desires and secrets to come. So I'm sure rewatching this whole show will be a joy. And I'll play devil's advocate. Problems I had with the show, a lot of situations involved an obscene amount of chance. You had 2 different people winning the lottery. You had a lot of people going viral to raise stuff, and that felt a little too. I get that all of life is very, open and fluid, and you'll never know what you'll get. But it felt like they constantly wrote themselves into this guy has to do something 1 in a million.
Well, but specifically with the guy went viral. His whole goal was to go viral, and he had 1 hit. So for the rest of the show, he's clout chasing. He's doing anything he can to stay in the searchlight.
I mean, I see what Mason is saying. There are lots of plot
I get what you're coming from.
It's a bunch of unlikely events, but they do happen.
Sure, absolutely.
They just happen to all revolve around this one taxi driver.
Sure, I think a lot of the humor and the jokes really didn't land with me. I don't know if it was just the pun-based origins of Japanese comedy, but I didn't think that they were all that haha funny. Mm-hmm. And the other biggest problem was sometimes the opening was only a minute long. I need that minute and a half every single time. It just puts me in that mood.
That song has just sat on the top of my Spotify for a month now. I can't stop listening to it.
But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just the noirish city atmosphere and everything is, what I love about this show is it's a part of one of the many things I love about this show is that it's a part of a sort of not even genre, but just storytelling style that I always love whenever it's pulled off well, which is, you've got your central figure, in this case, Otokawa, the taxi driver, who interacts with all of these people who don't have anything to do with each other as a result of his job of just picking up strangers and bringing them around, and then seeing over time all the little threads that connect everything together to make a central narrative so that, this kid who's a huge fan of an idol group is connected to this depressed old janitor who's trying to find love is connected to, the struggling comedy duo in all these ways that the characters never meet. They never know that each other exist, but they're all a part of this story that runs through just the collective life of the entire setting of this city.
Yes.
And, it's the malaise of modern life is really what it's all about.
It feels the setting and the cast, it feels like this one big, breathing, living thing. It's time passes when they're not being looked at. They have daily routines and they meet up and they do things, and it's all gonna have implications later on. And just the character,
and all the impacts that everyone's actions have on people they'll never meet in ways you'll never understand.
They're all so grounded and raw. You have this balding, sad monkey guy who's just looking for love. He's very financially irresponsible. He's just that desperate, getting catfished.
Getting a loan to like impress the girl who's
he takes out a
catfishing him.
loan.
Literally catfished.
But they call it like badger games, right?
Which is a real word.
Yeah,
that's a real word.
I thought it was like honey potting and catfish. There's so many words for this.
A badger game specifically is when like you lead someone on for the purpose of like jumping them.
Right, okay. So that's what they were doing. Because she's on Tinder, basically. And he's like, oh man, I can't get any hits on Tinder. I'm going to lie about my income. And so they go on a date. He takes out a loan to take her there. He's like reacting at the bill. And she's like, is that a lot of money for you? And he's like, oh, no. It's so cheap. I was shocked. Is there anything you want? I would love it if someone proposed to me with a really expensive ring. And he's like, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to take out another loan from these really shady loan sharks to buy you a ring. And the girl he's on a date with is like a member of this idol group. And we have already met like their biggest fan ever. And every single person has been in the taxi. It's fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
And then
as we talked about, the 6 degrees of Odokawa. It all connects.
Like, fucking nuts. And he gets like, he apparently told his mom that he was gonna get married, and like the gangster is like laughing at him.
That was so
he's
sad.
So pathetic.
Yeah.
God, it hurts. It hurts me.
As the gangster raps to his face of how much of a loser he is.
I love the rapping.
That's like the most dunked on you can possibly be.
A rapping hedgehog telling you how big of a loser you are.
Yeah.
I will say that guy, the monkey dude, made me more uncomfortable than I felt in a while. But man, when he started breaking down at the end, I was feeling fine. I'm like, oh, right. Geez, and he just, man. So props to that
I
voice
definitely
actor.
didn't like Kakihana, but even anybody's got to feel bad for him in that moment.
He just won't face the fact that he got played. Like the girl shows up and is like, yeah, it was all to mug you for money, but you lied. You don't have any fucking money. He's like, they're making you say that, like, right? No, I can save you.
I'll protect you.
I'll protect you. And he's bleeding and he's tied up to his pillar.
Simp.
And you have the
financial irresponsibility is a big through line of this show. And honestly, like when I first watched episode 1, like I was really endeared to the dialogue, the mood, just how well written the characters were.
The dialogue.
But I was skeptical because it seemed like they were setting up this mystery, and I've seen more than a fair share of anime squander a good mystery setup.
Yes.
And
yeah, very much so.
Oh boy, this show delivered on it. Like the spectacular writing just nailed it. Every
they set up like
through line, every question was answered so well. Like the crafting of the story was just so well done.
They set up like a couple mysteries. Well, the first one is like a girl has gone missing, and people are suspecting he has her because she was seen entering his cab or whatever. And at the end,
he's the kind of guy that, like, from the outside, you
don't know much about him.
He's kind of like a creepy taxi driver. Yes. He's really quiet. He sticks to himself. He's like old, doesn't interact with anyone. You know, from like an outside perspective, someone who doesn't know this, you could totally look at a guy like this and be like, "Yeah, I could totally see this guy."
A bunch of people are
suspecting
him of this, but not like for really reals. They're just like, "Do you have her back there?"
Yeah.
He's what the kids call a little sus.
He's a little bit sussy.
He's a little sus,
you know, there's a room in his house that kind of stays closed that he kind of alludes to.
And he talks to someone in there.
He talks to the room.
They never
that's
respond.
the other big mystery.
Yeah.
And in the opening, like, I think his head, when it, like, revolves around, we see that room, like, in the back of his head, and it's, you know, clearly weighing on him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's so many seats, and it's so well done.
In the show, like halfway through, we figure out, like they tell us that the missing girl was actually killed. She died in the idol office.
Mysterious circumstances.
And no one knows who fucking did it. And then we see this whole segment of like the manager and the other idol like dumping the body and getting her replacement who looks kind of like her. And there's a whole thing about that because the guy, Odokawa, is like looking at her and being like, no, it's a different one. She looks familiar, but she was different.
Right.
But it always alludes to, like, how is he so good at, like, noticing people's traits? How do they pick up people in the crowd? They're like, oh, they're just using that as a phrase for a skill. But no, like, it all makes, everything is answered so well. Like, even at the very end, as I was, like, writing my notes on this, I was like, okay, they did a pretty good job, but we don't know who killed that one girl. And it's a whatever show. And then right at the end, they're like, yeah, but this is how it works. And not only does it answer that question, but it answers how this person was okay with this situation, or why this relationship was strained. Like, it just, everything layered so well that it was just a masterpiece of writing.
You know there's a great twist when you've been watching the series and had a couple moments where you're like, this doesn't really make any sense. And then the twist happens, you're like, that's why it didn't make sense. It wasn't a mistake. That was intentional.
It's just like if you ever watched Rakugo Shinju, at the end of season 1, something happens, and you're like, I don't know about that. Like, I guess it works, but I don't, it kind of let down. And then season 2... it was like, actually, this is what happened. And you're like, well, that's why it felt
really
wrong.
Happened. Yeah.
And it's why can't more shows do that? Why can't more shows be good?
And it's like the scene where on Halloween and everyone's like wearing the skull masks, and there's so many characters who are like, oh, is that the guy? I can't tell anyone apart. And you're like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that guy's like a rat, and you're looking for a hippo.
That one's a giraffe, and that one's...
yeah, right. And then I went back and I found as many scenes as I could of... After finishing it, I went back and I found as many scenes as I could where he, like, refers to people as animals and stuff.
Yeah.
And... Yeah, it's awesome.
It's just really consistent, and once you see the twist and you go back from the start, you're like, oh, that's why they react the way they do. That's why the doctor asks him that, and it's just great.
And it's not even like hyper confusing. It's not like it's so dense that you're like, wow, I completely missed this, or I lost what's going on. Like, it's very easily understood, but just because of the depth of the character interactions makes it feel so well realized.
And the fucking, like, the anti-gacha ad in episode 4, it's like, don't play
just
FGO.
An episode
Stop it.
about why gachas are bad. If you have a gacha on your phone, delete it immediately.
Turns out, who knew
that guy is me when Majia Record EN shut down last year. That's how I felt.
And you killed them. You went there and killed them.
I went there and I killed them. That's why it took so long for season 2 to come out.
Because you killed the whole staff. There's a thing, a Reddit comment I've had saved for years.
Nice.
About FGO, where someone did out the like percentages of like, if you spend this much money, here's like what percent chance you have to get what you're rolling for. And I've saved it forever. I'm going to read it off real quick because it was all I could think of through that whole episode. It was, to get a 99% chance to get an SSR, which is like the highest rarity.
It's the dodo.
In the game. Yeah, it's the dodo. That's the dodo. I can buy a new iPhone or a computer or a really shitty car, pay off a third of my current student loans, pay off that month's rent, get a Switch, PS4, and Xbox One, buy 5 years worth of gym membership, go to a decent escort thrice, buy a round ticket trip to Japan, or get a better fucking hobby where $1,000 is actually useful.
Yeah. It's insane. It's like, it turns out, who knew, gacha games are an evil, infinite black hole mousetrap designed to prey on people with obsessive personalities. Ban them! They're fucked up!
But what I think is so great about that story and so many other things in this series is that out of context, it seems so silly and mundane. Like, this guy became a fucking murderer because of a fucking gacha game. But what I saw that as is it's just one more droplet of life's cruelty that falls upon you.
He's taken
you know, like, life is just cruel in these small ways, like little droplets, and you never know when it's going to happen. But there's just, at some point, there's just going to be that one droplet that's going to make the bucket tip over.
To anyone else.
And for that guy, you know, that's where it happened. Like, him just, like, dropping his phone. That was the one final droplet that made him tip over.
Anyone else, that is silly and pathetic to worry about. But to him, it was just like the culmination of a life worth of obsessing over things and being like punished for it. And now he finally got the thing. And what the fuck? The universe took it from him. Just like, and then his bird fucking died the same day.
Yeah.
And he spent 100,000 yen on an eraser. And guess what? That eraser is also part of his show. Otokawa has it, just for fun.
Right.
And Dobu was the guy who scammed him out of it. And
what I love so much about this character is that things go really bad for him, and he doesn't immediately freak out. Like, he loses the memory on his phone, and he doesn't freak out right away. He does the responsible thing. He takes it to, like, a phone thing to restore it, and then it doesn't work. Or he finds, the eraser that lands on the ground. He's like, oh my goodness, this could be the one. But he takes that extra second, and he's like, let me verify. Let me check with them.
Yeah, he's not just like, you have the eraser, I'm going to kill you.
He doesn't spaz out. He gives it a chance. He gives it the thought like a real person.
Maybe there's a lot of them. Maybe it's from like stock.
Right.
He could be.
Yeah, maybe it ended up with you somehow. And it's only once it's confirmed, like, yeah, you've had it the whole time. You're the one who scammed me. Now he's like, okay, now I'm going to kill you.
Now, to be fair, for the taxi driver that he's upset about for, essentially breaking his phone, I don't know if he would have tossed his phone to him to verify the avatar of someone else. That was a little whatever. But besides that, phenomenal scenes. And just...
Right.
Even despite all that, just the conversations, the dialogue was exemplary.
And he's another example of these characters who, like, he is truly disconnected from anyone else in this show. But he's this wild card who's just in the back of your mind for the whole thing. He's out there, he wants to kill Otokawa for something, for us, petty, but also really understandable. He's fed up. And he is out there looking for him. Someone plants a fucking phone in Otokawa's taxi. He finds out where it is. He is working, and that it makes sense again after the ending of the show. Why that character who planted the phone there did that.
Right.
It all ties back together.
And that's what's so good about the show is what you guys have all been saying about, like, it's super visible when this character, where, he was beat down and beat down and beat down throughout his life, and then this is the thing that made him snap and lose it. But that's really what's happening with everyone in this whole show. Like, everyone just has, like, something they want, and they've been trying to get it, they haven't been able to, and then finally, just, like, out of desperation, they make shitty decisions. And the way those shitty decisions reverberate and bounce off of each other and affect people who have nothing to do with them is what it's all about.
Also, I felt so much for that boar guy, that comedian,
I loved him.
Whose partner has like made it big, and they're like, he's trying to set up. They have to practice for this like low tier bullshit contest, like the horse guy has no interest in anymore because he's made it big. It's like, can we practice tomorrow? I have a shoot. How about right after that? I have this commercial I have to do. How about after that? Radio show. After that, it's like the boar has nothing but time, and he has this one thing he likes to do, but his partner is just leaving him in the dust. And so when they finally do the routine, he's just up there on stage, and he kind of breaks out of their routine, their gag, and he just starts like, I have a lot of regrets. And he says what he really feels about it.
I loved it in the last episode.
The characters are so raw and relatable. It's fucking awesome.
I loved it in the last episode after the cab goes off the bridge and everything, and there's the montage of like all the characters who are just like in different places around the city, but just like on the riverbank looking out and seeing it falling into the water, and the montage of all these little things in everyone's backstory that have been seated in there, just like moments of like an object
dropping
falling
something
into a liquid,
or like a drop of water, that
means something to that character, and you get the montage of them looking at the car from another angle, and then the thing it reminds them of falling into the water, and then you cut to the two comedians having their heart to heart about whether it makes sense for them to still be partners, and the Warthog's like, I'm being interrupted by a car.
Well, because he wanted Baba to interrupt him. He wanted the straight man shot. No, it was so good.
Right.
It was so good. Yeah, the dropping scene was phenomenal. Like, where else is just soap falling into a bath like have emotional resonance?
Yeah.
Right.
For some
and even like
Sorry,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, for some added bonus content, there are some radio dramas, CD dramas, someone animated.
Oh, I forgot to watch
fan
that
animations of them. And they are chilling. Like, knowing what you know at the end of the show, Like, one of them is the three idols doing, like, a bonding exercise.
This aired after the second episode, for reference.
And it would mean nothing if you haven't... I mean, it's some foreshadowing, I guess. It's like the three idols are doing this bonding exercise because they're all, like, new and been put together as idols or whatever. And they play this game with, like, you write one lie and one truth or something. And then
one lie, one little truth, and one big truth.
Yes, and then they...
Like, anonymously, and then they mix them up.
And then they mix them up and read them. And it's like... At the end of it, you have, it's like, some of the cards are like, I killed somebody, or I dumped a body, or I do Badger games. And they're all just like, wait, only 3 of these are supposed to be lies, right? It's fucking chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it's just such a well put together series overall. It's just it feels so ingenious. It's just like this has to be the best original anime in a while. I'm like, even
it's based on a manga.
The big anime. Was that?
It's based on a manga.
No, it's an original.
Oh, is it?
It's original.
I saw a manga on Mal. The writer did a manga.
I mean, that happens with original series. They get, like, manga spin-offs. This is an original series.
Oh, is the manga... Okay.
The manga just started
so the manga
in
is based on this show. Okay, that's great then.
I will say, well, it is, although, now that you pointed out, the writer for this series, like, the script writer, is a manga writer. Like,
because I was going to point out, can you believe that this show is the anime debut for the director, the sound director, and the script writer?
Well, anime debut, sure. I believe this, I looked up the studio, PICS, the co-producers of this anime, and they seem to be a sort of multimedia studio, kind of like Space Neko and Kamikaze Doga, who did the Pop Team Epic and Gallon Dino weird animes like that. So that seems to be like what. So they have some experience in some fields, evidently. Mm-hmm. I guess they just wanted to get into animation, and what a start!
Yeah, I mean, they come out swinging. It's pretty incredible.
But yeah, I was saying the writer is a manga author and artist, and he does have a fully completed manga that was okay, hang on, I gotta look this up real quick. And someone's like, I read the review on My Anime List, and he said it's like available on Amazon, like fully translated, and like the reviews are now coming out for it because this was such a fantastic series, and people are just like, this is a fucking amazing manga, and nobody has known about it ever.
Right? Yeah.
Seto Utsumi is what it's called.
Does it have an anime?
No.
I'd pick it up. I was gonna say, as my last point about the show, their art style, it's this really simple, deceptively simple art style, and it serves the show so well in keeping up like the consistent quality throughout the whole thing. Never once did I notice any kind of dip in animation or arts or like artwork.
Well, when the car scenes weren't very good.
Because they were CG
cars. I thought so. They were CG, but
it was a cute little CG taxi.
And it was masked with the same like compositing as the rest of the show. Like it all felt like immersed.
It never stuck out to me. I think the art style is incredibly genius because
I strongly agree.
It's like they can put in so much more polish. Like these little motions people do, like on the backseat of a taxi, like they just like shift their hand a little bit because their face is just like a circle. Yeah, it lets you get those
little motions that like people do when they're thinking about something.
Because like you have you look at Odokawa. What is his design? He's like an oval. He's an egg with a bit of a face. He's so easy to draw. Every character is so simple that they can put that focus into the little human, like shifting of the looking around, like scratch your ear, like little polishes that I appreciate so much.
Odokawa asked them a question and they kind of like moved their hand on the cushion, and you're like, oh, they didn't like that. They're nervous,
Press
like
X
you can just see that.
Yeah, they have body language because the art style affords them that luxury, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And just my final point, I guess, is that I just love how this anime, I feel like the main theme of this whole story was that every character has their own story.
Everybody deals with something.
Yeah, everyone has something going on. And like I said, no matter how mundane it might seem out of context, it just means so much when you put it all together.
Some people play gacha games, some people are murderers, some people some are just sad, like 30-something, trying to find love in a big city. Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely the best seasonal anime that's come out in a while. This was, like, I honestly really did like everything about this series. And I put Odokawa in my top 10 characters.
I think I did the same, actually.
Let's go.
Much. And honestly, it was a debate because I also wanted to put Yano in my top 10. I fucking
you like Yano that
I
much?
love Yano.
Every second
Yano
of
was so
Yano
great.
was a treasure.
I
absolutely, like, the first second we see him, like when he gets
he's a very love or hate
when
character.
He eats shit on his fucking stupid ass scooter.
He's a very love or hate guy.
I have only seen people say they either fucking hate it or love it. I loved it.
No, I just love just weird, bizarre,
especially when
like
he fucking when he breaks character in the last episode or whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
like
he's not
rhyming. You're not rhyming.
Stop rhyming, and he's like shocked. Oh no!
And then he goes back to rhyming for a little bit after it's pointed out, and then loses it again. Yeah,
boss, no.
Yeah, he was an absolute treasure. That's the kind of originality we need. So.
My favorite characters is so out of date that I didn't touch that, but I did put Odd Taxi on my top 10 anime.
Nice.
Same also.
Very cool.
Love to see it.
Fuck, it's so good.
Yeah. All the characters are amazing. Even like someone like Dobu, like an absolute scumbag, has his moments
he has
of like
that whole little
inspiration.
Speech he does to the hippo.
He confronts the hippo guy who was trying to capture him the entire time, and he's like, "All right, let's discuss why you were trying to be viral."
That was so wholesome.
To be fair, after he got shot in the leg, looks back around the corner, he's like, "That person's gone. I guess I can just be so chill about it that I can address this guy who's been my mortal enemy online and causing me stress and just deal with him in just a suave way." It's so impressive.
And with the fucking hippo, it's this whole arc of what attention does to somebody, where now he is this internet sensation, and he has a big apartment, he has an expensive car, he's sleeping with his fans.
He's got like
he becomes
fan
like
girls he's
a
sleeping with.
scumbag.
Right.
Yeah. It's fucking amazing.
Not only like he becomes a scumbag because of the fame, but now he's like, now I need to like actually do something about this. You know, like I've talked up how I'm going to capture this criminal. Now I
know where he is, so I have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking.
I mean, my final thoughts, and we don't need to get into it because I think it's a whole nother can of worms at its best experienced just by watching it. But the ending is so satisfying and so impactful. That it just delivered on everything, and watch this show, cowards.
I don't think
it's worth the hype.
I don't think we have spoiled the twist too much.
No, we've been careful not to say it explicitly. So
but we have hinted at it. Maybe we have to edit that out. I don't know. I want people to experience.
I think it's okay.
Right. I want people to experience that on their own. It's insane. It's so great.
Yeah.
In before this is a 10 for me, and when I rewatch it or something, it's so close.
This is a decent to strong 9. So it's close.
Yeah, we'll see how it sits with me like over a year, and if it remains, at the forefront of my brain, maybe, but definitely a strong 9 for now. And this is just an experience that really anime is the best suited for delivering.
And this was the show everybody saw the trailer for at the Crunchyroll Awards and was like, the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And then everybody forgot about it.
I didn't forget about it. I mean, I was very interested when I saw that. I'm like, okay, this, like, it's kind of funny when Egg was first coming out, like, that was something that I'm like, okay, like, I was telling everybody, I'm like, okay,
all
this
eyes
like
on this.
Really weird. You gotta watch this.
Yeah.
But then Odd Taxi was just like so simple with how it was marketed. I'm like, it could be all right.
I think the trailer was just like the taxi spinning and then people talking.
Yeah, it was just like this weird 3D animation, and I was like, okay, well, that was kind of strange. But I couldn't have expected it to be the masterpiece.
No,
that
absolutely
it
not.
actually is.
It reminds me of when Shogen Rakugo Shinju aired.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I remember someone in like the final episode thread on Reddit linking back to when the first trailer for it was posted and it got like 26 upvotes or something and nobody was paying any attention.
Yeah.
And then the show happened and people were like, this is a masterpiece. You know, it's the exact same thing.
That is a show I have to scoot up my plan to watch.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Is this it? Is Odd Taxi just the new Rakugo Shinju?
I think Odd Taxi is the new Rakugo Shinju.
Really?
Because like when I started this show,
they're really different shows in a lot of ways, but they are both
like
perfect.
when I watched the first 2 episodes, I had really no expectation. I thought it was just going to be like taxi dialogues. People are going to go in, they're going to talk, they're going to leave, and never come back. I never expected it to be this interconnected web of mysteries and consequences.
Yeah.
Simply incredible.
In other news, good shows are good.
Must watch.
Crazy. Imagine that.
Hopefully we haven't overhyped it and now people are coming in saying, oh, it's not as good as you guys.
That's
wrong.
I do kind of worry about that when they're like gushing about a show. It's like now people are expecting like a fucking fireworks factory. It's like
they're expecting the 10 out of 10 that it is, but
I think with the show like this, people who aren't going to like it weren't going to like it. And, you know,
if the dialogue in the first episode doesn't click with you, then it's not for you.
For those who listen to this and check it out and then do love it the way we do and never would have without, like, that's what we're looking for. Yes. Some people might try it and not love it, but I think most will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One can hope that we're not the crazy ones here.
No, I've seen all of it. It's Twitter fucking exploded.
Impossible.
It was great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, by the way, also that tweet from the Hippo guy is like an actual tweet that was made months before the anime
Wait, are you
premiered.
serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone showed this to me.
Like the one with the picture with Dobu in it?
Yeah, I hope I can find this.
So at the time, it was just like weird promotional. No one knew what to make of it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, posted October 10th, 2020.
That's so funny.
It's amazing. Oh, that's incredible. What's it say?
It's just the text from the actual show. Wait, I just consulted with a taxi driver that I couldn't get job hunting, but my smartphone was robbed and I took
taking a selfie to see this and cheer up. And then Dobu is in the background. Nice.
Very cool, yeah. Also, I will say, we were talking about like Reddit hype and all. Shout out to this guy, Tobias Amaranth, whatever, on Reddit, who did actually predict that this would be a really good anime. He said for one of the trailers, sleeper hit of the season. Yeah. I'm going to screen cap that. Good for him.
I think some of us had it in our like top 5 on our like initial episode of this season, so
definitely is now.
One last thing I want to say, calling back to your love for Yano, were you aware that Yano's voice actor is just listed as all caps Meteor?
Yeah, he's an actual rapper.
Meteor.
Yeah, he's an actual rapper. I'm gonna link to his Spotify in our channel if you guys want to check that out.
Ghostbusters Part 14.
Yeah. My rap.
I like how you always know Yano's about to start talking because the show has to give him a beat to go to.
Yeah, the BGM that played every time. That helped. That really helped make me love him.
Lettuce's bomb Hiratsuka burger. Tomato legend Hiratsuka hustler.
He's prolific.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters Part 14, 13, 10, and 9.
I see 11. Yeah, 9, 12. It just keeps going. Yeah. Have we talked for long enough about Odd Taxi now? Only like an hour, right?
Probably
no,
not.
But we should probably move on.
We should move on. Because
we have talked about Odd Taxi for an eternity.
Yeah. So that's, I guess, what we're going to talk about. To Your Eternity. A little bit. I didn't watch this, though.
I never made it past episode 2.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll handle this one then. This is ongoing, so we're not going to linger on it for too long.
Right.
I've really been enjoying this show. I'm a couple episodes behind now because since it wasn't ending, I left it so I could focus on finishing things that were ending. But the third arc I got all the way through is really, really good.
Okay.
I know a lot of people had issues with the second arc, like thinking the little girl was really annoying. I liked her, but it's definitely a bit of a step down. As everyone was saying, the first episode is amazing, and then the stuff after is not as good.
I don't hate her, but she does make me like pensive about picking it back up.
Would it engage you more if I told you that she dies?
Yes.
There you go.
I mean, isn't like the whole thing about this show is like the impermanence of life and that this thing lives on.
Yeah. No, she gets shot with an arrow and fucking dies.
What the? Okay, nice.
So
very good. Yes.
And the third arc is really good. I think the character they introduced there, Gugu, is one of the best characters of the season. He's the kid in the OP with like the weird like ceramic pot mask on his head.
Gugu.
He's awesome. It starts ramping up like the actual plot and everything, where like that weird creator figure shows up and gives some exposition about what's going on. There are like fight scenes with this weird like plant monster creature that exists to like hunt down Fushi and like steal his forms from him and shit. So it's getting intense. The characters are getting really good. I'm enjoying it a lot. Really looking forward to the second core. Yeah, we can move on from there.
Well, I am suddenly interested in picking it back up, I guess.
All right. Well, now we're going to get into the sequels. And I say sequels, I'm kind of using that term liberally.
One of them is an actual... two of them are actual sequels.
Yeah. Well, for this one in particular, I'm using the term liberally. This is SSSS.Dynazenon.
Dynazenon.
Yes. Which was...
Dino Cinnamon.
Which was, of course, it's related to SSSS Gridman. The main question was how, and we did eventually get an answer to it. And they're actually going to be doing a crossover season sometime in the future. Because,
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, we're going to get Gridman X Dynazenon. So, cool.
I liked this a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think we all did.
But I didn't really know what to make of it. I gave it an 8. I had a lot of fun with it, but I guess I'm too stupid to get like what was the overall message. It didn't seem as clear as Gridman.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
What? So you say like how are they connected? You said they answered how they're connected. Maybe I blinked.
Well, they're connected as in we get a couple of characters from Gridman that show up here.
Auntie is there as Grid Knight, right?
Auntie and Second.
And Acilius,
Second?
Second. She was
Acilius the second.
She's
the
weird
who's
kaiju
with Knight the whole time.
She was the weird kaiju girl from the first season, like the little kid with the hood, and she was really creepy and weird.
Oh, that is kind of ringing a bell.
She like rides the train with Yuta and like shows him the like illusion that Akane has created to like control the whole world.
This is slowly ringing a bell.
Okay.
Who was she in? Was she the scientist lady with Auntie?
Yeah.
She was like the gal who follows Auntie around.
I was wondering who that was. She makes a funny face. She has a funny smile.
She has the best smile. She's the most attractive character. She's my waifu.
But other than that, like people were kind of low-key expecting to see Akane and like that this whole thing would tie direct.
But we did see Akane.
Did we?
Sort of.
1 second.
Was that her? There was like a silhouette at a table, right?
Yeah, well, it's from Auntie's backstory, so who else could it be?
Yeah. I was expecting the Princess Galma was looking for to be Akane.
I think a lot of people were expecting
that.
Who was it?
Was just some person from the past.
Right.
From
I guess we'll
his
know.
previous life.
I guess we'll find
Gridman
out.
X Dynazenon.
Yeah. These shows are like... It's like, I feel like I'm overthinking everything with these shows. I'm trying to... What did they mean?
Yeah. These shows are criminally underwatched.
And underrated. It's kind of fucking insane.
Yeah.
Because they're really good.
Dynazenon at least has gotten up to like a 7.46, I think.
Nice.
7.48, which is respectable.
That is better.
Gridman is still at 7.16, which is criminal.
It's slowly gone down.
Yeah. But I love this. There's so much fun. The character designs are awesome. I love Yume's design.
Yes.
She's so, like, soft and colorful.
Yeah.
Her eyes are beautiful. I also love Galma.
Galma was
It's so
fucking
funny.
good.
I was like, throughout the whole show, whenever Galma showed up on screen, I was like, I love how this guy looks like he's going to fucking keel over at any time. And then there's the reveal at the end that he's basically been a zombie the whole show.
He's like fucking necrotic. He's like suffering from necrosis this whole show.
Yeah.
Because he's no longer a kaiju whatever, geneticist.
Kaiju eugenicist. Yeah.
So he's no longer connected to the power of kaiju, so he just fucking dies.
Yeah.
When you say great character designs, I take that to mean Mujino, who is an absolute smoke show and the best waifu, one of the best waifus of the decade. I would submit.
My only complaint with her design would be her boots. I don't like those, but the rest is just like 10 out of 10. Fucking insane.
She's so peak
character design.
Yeah.
She ends up
she's awesome.
Like she had that whole moment with tall, neat guy.
Koyomi,
yeah. And then at the end, she's like, "I hate you." And I'm like, "Wait, what? What happened? Why? Why did you?"
Their relationship was a little hard to follow. I wasn't really sure what was happening between the two of them.
We have a lot in common. We're the same, actually. And then an episode later, "I hate you."
She's like, "Fuck you."
I hate you. Die.
Yeah. I think the deal with that was that because at the beginning of the show, Mujin is just kind of like there, like she's just kind of going along with the other kaiju eugenicists, and then she and Koyomi have the interaction where he's like, yeah, I get it. We're both in the same spot where we don't want anything and are just kind of going through the motions. And that sort of like snaps her out of it. And I think the reason she's angry at him at the end is that she can't really go back to just like being fine with things.
Oh, okay.
You know, now she like wants something and loses. And she's like, I'm upset I can't just be okay with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation, at least.
I guess.
I'll be honest, this show is not my cup of tea. There's tons of references and tie-ins to tokusatsu shows that I am absolutely missing.
Same.
I just inherently am not a fan of that genre, so for so much of episodes to be dedicated to that, I just find myself losing interest. But I think it's worth bringing up the storyboarding, cinematography, and just the whole like tone of disassociation that episode 10 delivers in such a visual representation that is quite impressive.
Yes.
Remind me which one that was?
That's the going back to their past and like looking from behind the glass.
Oh, that's the past one.
Yeah. And that was like one episode where, despite not like keeping up with the show, enough people were like, Mason, you have to check out at least this one episode just to see how they were able to represent all of these characters' backstories and like tribulations through this. And it was certainly a treat to behold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a very good one. The show's just solid. I feel what you're saying with like, I don't get any of the references to like the 60s, like shitty monster movies and stuff.
How dare you, first of all. No, kind of same. It's like, I feel like tokusatsu and all that stuff, it's a genre I would like if I watched more of it. Because every time there's a transformation sequence and the OP plays and that old shitty dum 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 monster bullshit music plays, I'm just like squealing. It's such a joy.
Yeah.
Like they do that, like they go full Gurren Lagann at the end, like Super Dragon, Kaiser, God, Emperor.
Right.
Bullshit combination, like, do like big ring laser attacks, and it looks amazing.
It's funny looking on like the wiki for this show because I tried like to refresh myself on some of what happened in Gridman. I went back to like look for some of the lore and found that the wiki is just like the same combined wiki with that stuff. So you like search for Gridman and like you get the list of like Gridman's moves and it's all like gifs of a guy in like a shitty cardboard costume. It's a lot of fun.
I think one of my favorite pieces of like, it's a little thing characterization in this is that Yume is she's aware of like this genre of thing of big robots and monsters fighting in media, because when she's in the robot she fires her something beam. It's like she knows that you have a beam attack and you fire it by saying the name of it, but she's not so much of a dork that she wants to think up a proper name. she's excited to be there, but she's not a nerd. What's it? Nandoka beam. It's adorable. Like, they have so many, like the episode where they go to a pool center, I guess, like swimming place, like eat churros and just chill. And Mujina is just so happy to be in the water. Can we go back? Like, once they're done fighting, can we go back there?
Galma, like, trying to stalk them in the pool and getting...
Don't run!
Like, having to run away from the lifeguard.
Don't run!
Yeah.
She's just speed walking.
Yeah.
It's so charming. Like, I feel like overall I enjoy the cast of this more than I did Gridman. But I feel like Gridman was a more, like the
complete show.
More complete. Like, the point of the show hit a little harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
I'd agree.
That's how I feel about this and between this and Gridman. Like, it is funny. Like, I actually do think I think I do like this the main cast of Dynazenon more than I like Gridman, even though in Gridman, like, I like individual characters way more. Like, I love Rika and I love Akane. And
Akane is definitely the best character.
I never gave a shit about the tall friend or like the main guy in Gridman.
Yeah.
Never really cared about
the Neon Genesis High School students.
I love Samurai Caliber. He was great. So yeah, Dynazenon has more of a balance, but I will say that Gridman just felt more complete, and it felt like
poignant.
It had just like, and the biggest example of that would be like the eugenesis. Like, in this show, when they fight a kaiju and Dynazenon wins, it's the eugenicists are just like, well, gang, looks like we lost. Tomorrow's another day, though. Whereas in Gridman,
it's very like Saturday morning cartoon villain.
Yeah, whereas
where
in
they're
Gridman,
like, oh, you beat us this time. Well, we'll try again next week.
But then they fucked that over at some point because no more kaiju were spawning, and they're like, well, I guess we just fucking lost. We don't have any more kaiju.
Meanwhile, in Gridman, when Gridman wins, Akane goes on this fucking existential crisis. It's just insane. So, overall, there are things in Dynazenon that I'm just like, I didn't really get the point of it. Maybe there wasn't a point, honestly. And Gridman just felt so methodical, even the point where it had like this very weird, strange atmosphere, which Dynazenon still has that, and there is still a large point, like with how Yume and Yomogi's relationship can be kind of awkward and distant and things like that. I don't know. It's just like there were lots of things in the message of Gridman that I think every aspect of the show really tied into it well. And Dynazenon had some dangling parts, I guess, that didn't really attach properly, I guess.
What did you make of the little Ankh puzzle thing she has? She's always messing with.
That's a good question.
Because I think the Ankh is like an Egyptian symbol for like fertility, right? So they could represent a woman. Could represent her and her sister being intertwined, and she solves the puzzle in the episode 10 when she's like meets her sister.
That's true. Yeah,
they come apart.
She like pulls them apart,
and then she can like put them back together on her own. So it's like to represent her closure.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's good.
Right?
I like that.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I felt smart coming up with that. So I like that.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot.
And I'm going to say they handled that sort of subplot pretty well, I think, where they didn't sugarcoat it, and they also didn't come to like a single. Basically, they addressed this issue as in like there's no single proper correct answer that you're going to come to with this sort of thing.
Yeah, like even like going back in time into your memories to talk with your sister. You can get closure, but you'll never really get an answer for like why she died.
Yeah.
Like, was it an accident? Really liked, was she bullied? Was it suicide? Well, she's dead either way. It's
right.
Yeah. You could get to understand.
I also really liked the stuff with Chise and Koyomi, and especially the whole like subplot with Koyomi like having those like weird flirty dinners with like his high school classmate, and then like also having dinner with her and her husband, and then he like finds the husband on the brink of death after a kaiju attack, and he's like, man, like, I hate this guy, but it's not because of anything he's done. He's like really nice to me. I'm just jealous of him, and he like struggles for a bit and walks away, and then like comes back and saves him.
I hate this guy,
really
and no one would know if I.
Yeah, if I just let him die. Yeah, right.
I like the whole thing with.
I will say that over. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was about to wrap it up.
The whole thing with Chisei, and like she's not a part of the Dynazenon gang, but then she gets Goldburn, and it's all just very nice. Mm-hmm. She gets to be a part of it.
I also thought when we saw like the first key visual for this show and Chisei was there, I was like, that's the worst character design I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, I hate it.
But it grew on me a lot. I think it fits the character really well because she is just like this kind of like dumb, edgy preteen who thinks this is cool.
Yeah, I like the character, I always did, but I hate that. Hate her hair, hate her outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good show. It's like, I totally understand all the issues you were saying earlier on it, Mason, and I have to save ones. And there's just something about it that is just endearing to me.
Oh, I absolutely get that. I'm a Trigger fan through and through, and there's certain shows where people will be like, what do you like about this? Like, this doesn't seem like, me being a very particular and picky person. They're like, at some point, you're just like, I don't know. I just like the experience of watching their shows, the energy it exudes, just the experience is enjoyable, and I absolutely understand why people love this and Gridman, and I certainly enjoyed Gridman, and something about the show just wasn't clicking for me. Yeah. So I don't even have like bad things to say about it because it just didn't connect, but yeah.
Like a wise man once said, I don't know art, but I know what I like.
There you go.
Yeah. I think that it wasn't as good as Gridman.
Pretty boy anime reviewers.
It lived up to the hype it lived up to expectations for me at least. That's all I can ask for.
Yeah.
I don't know art, but I do know fetishes.
All right. Well, next up we have an actual sequel. It is a numbered sequel, Megalo Box 2 NOMAD. Which I thought was kind of incredible, actually.
Yes, same.
Like, this is a sequel right here. Like, this is just an evolution.
Yeah. The first season was pretty good. It was fun. I liked it. Like, an underdog story is boxing. It was entertaining. This is like fucking masterpiece. What the fuck?
Yeah, like, I mean, a lot of how I feel about this is what I explained in the first impressions. It's like, the first one was kind of safe, almost by the numbers. It was, like a fight of the week format, underdog story, things like that. Just hot-blooded action. Yes. Whereas this one is like, has some way darker themes. It's way more artistic and creative, and it just has a lot more to say.
Fall from grace, loss, losing yourself, losing your home, finding your way back. It has like all these themes. And like by the end, I was like anytime they mentioned the fucking hummingbird story and stuff like that, I just get all emotional. It's like, it's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. It all just comes together. It's an incredible tale of like forgiveness and redemption and coming back from the brink, and don't box, you will get brain damage and die.
Boxing is bad.
Yeah, don't do that.
And the style of the show was so good. It had like this grainy filter. It had the scrolling credits. Like, everything just had like a tinge of nostalgia, and it didn't feel campy or forced at all.
Just like the first season, it just bleeds this aesthetic, this old, like it's all like emulated. It's all stuff they had to do on purpose, but they do it so well that it doesn't even feel like a gimmick. It's just flawless.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That atmosphere is my favorite thing about Megalo Box, because it's like, this got this weird, like, genre blending property to it, where it takes place in, like, a cyberpunk future, but everything about it feels like a spaghetti western.
Plus, the opening for this season is like fucking spaghetti western, like Mexican guitar, and
what the fuck is spaghetti western? I've never heard this term before.
You've never heard spaghetti westerns before?
There was a time when westerns were the shit. So Italians loved Westerns. So Italy produced like a bajillion Western movies. And that's a spaghetti Western. It's cheaply made bullshit. And it's just this aesthetic.
It's so funny.
If you ever want something really fun, this is not anime at all. There's a live action movie called Tampopo, which is called like a ramen western.
I was gonna say
instead of spaghetti western.
Have you seen?
Yo, I can't believe you've seen Tampopo. That movie is so good.
That sounds interesting.
It's amazing.
Moss, did you ever see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No.
You should. That one deals. First of all, it's good. Second of all, it has like a whole sub arc about this character's acting career kind of failing and going to Italy to make spaghetti westerns.
All right. I have been educated.
But yeah,
Thank you.
It's like, as I was saying, the Megalo Box is like constantly switching back and forth between these scenes in these like huge futuristic cities and high-tech powerful corporate boardrooms and massive electric stadiums and stuff, and then it'll cut to like Joe and his crew like hanging out in a shack in a desert wasteland, and it's like these places are close enough together that people just go back and forth between them. Like it's
kind of like Borderlands. It's like a Borderlands aesthetic
between them.
Where you have these high-powered cyber conglomerates, and then you go talk to your guy in a crater.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has that same, like, cultural touchstone as, like, Michiko to Hatchin, with, like, the South American just atmosphere and instrumentation to it that fits so well. Like, if you were in any way even moderately a fan of Megalo Box Season 1, you absolutely should check out Season 2. Besides perhaps maybe a little too much of, like, constant flashbacks that, like, hamstrings momentum, like, I get that the show is about, you know, our guy, like, carrying the weight of the past and moving on from it, but besides that, like, it's just, like, it's a great show. I've been enjoying it so much.
And the first, like, the thing everybody talks about is the first 4 episodes. That first, the NOMAD arc, basically, where he has no home. He's like traveling from place to place, doing shitty fights, and he's using a gear again. And he doesn't even go with his gimmick. He doesn't give a shit. He fights to forget, and he does shitty, cheap painkillers, and he's just a wreck. And he meets this community and this guy named Chief, and he cleans up and he kind of helps Chief train, and it's just this beautiful little story, but it's set in this background of the hatred that what's it called? Immigrants face.
Yeah.
And it's like so well told. It doesn't feel exploitative at all.
Mm-hmm.
I miss Bushy Tanuki Joe. I like him with the beard.
with the Furiosa
that's my
face
biggest
paint.
complaint. I loved his beard.
That design is so cool. Like, Joe's design is just amazing.
Yeah, Joe with the beard was sick. I wish he had kept that.
Chief, like the Chad of the year. Jesus Christ. What a
man. Yeah.
Just this big, gentle giant, nothing but forgiveness in his heart, and he's telling all these heartbreaking stories. He feels so real.
Like, it gives his life to, like, find a home for his community. Yeah.
It's so good.
I was like, that first arc was 10 out of 10.
Yes.
Like,
easy
perfect.
10.
Perfect TV.
All the way through.
Yeah.
After that, I kind of felt like
it becomes something else.
It was a return to form from the first season, which isn't bad, but was worse than what we had at the beginning of this season.
It becomes more about like him abandoning the kids and being unable to deal with the death of Nanbo? Is that his name? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Pops. And like getting back in their good graces by just like being around and helping out and eventually doing some fights. Yeah. He fights Yuri's new protege. He kind of gets his ass beat. And then we see this other guy, Mac, he kicks his ass to the point where he's hospitalized. He's like paralyzed forever. Because then we get into this whole subplot of like the ethics of capitalism, I guess. It's very strange. We have this
and that's another thing with like the genre blending, where you have like the cyberpunk like evil mega corporation like brain chip stuff
you have
happening like alongside the like scrappy boxer underdog story.
You have that lady from the first season, Yukiko, who is so hot, even hotter than this because she cut her hair. It's amazing. Wears a vertical striped sweater and a lab coat at all times. Very nice. Who is she's the most unrealistic thing in the world, which is a tech billionaire with a conscience. And she's kind of like, are we doing anything shitty?
But she develops the conscience as a result of season 1.
Yeah.
But she's still in business with these guys, Roscoe, who's run by what is he? Anime Elon Musk. I forget what his actual name is, but he looks like a fucking tool. And he's doing this brain chip that can, if you're paralyzed, it makes you able to walk again. And that's what they've done to this guy, Mac. So he's become this famous boxer.
Mac time.
And when he is on the ropes in a fight, he activates Mac time, where he just fucking kills the opponent.
Yeah.
Or as close as he can.
It's his ultra instinct.
Yeah, he goes super sane and just no regard for anyone's safety, smashes them. But we see the repercussions that has on his family life.
Destroying his brain.
Yeah. Where he's just loses his shit. He hears, I think the wife calls for dinner and she bangs a pot and his brain just rings and he starts knocking food on the ground, eating it like a dog, scaring his kid. And it's this whole academic background study on the chip and the ethics of it. And the CEO knows this. He chooses to ignore it. Yukiko finds out about it and it's kind of well, fuck, we kind of need that company for money. And then
I think my main problem with his whole season was just that whole plot with the actual greedy corporate side of it was just boring and predictable.
Yeah, agreed.
But it featured the second most unrealistic character, which is a tech billionaire who gets comeuppance for their crimes against humanity.
Yeah. Very optimistic.
He goes to jail, and she steps down from her position because she admits to have abused her authority.
Yeah,
and she will let better people take over and run the company better.
Yeah, she makes it open source.
Yeah,
what a bunch of anime logic.
Yeah,
people
this would never ever happen ever.
Yep.
In real time, Mac would just fucking die, and everybody would deny any responsibility. Yeah. And Joe was able to move on, and everything is good.
I like that it ends with Joe going back to Chief's grave.
Yes. He kind of takes
it was a little bit of closure that was needed.
Yeah, he takes on this whole, because Chief tells him of the hummingbird and, all these rituals, the way they crouch in the ring to, signal, I'm coming home and stuff like that. Joe, takes on all these little rituals and uses Chief's gear in the last fight. Because he...
Yeah.
Well, first of all, to honor Chief, but also he would fucking die if he didn't use a gear in that fight. And he knows that.
Right.
The last fight is just a joy. It's wonderful. It's not it's good.
It's not hype.
It's not hype, and it's not all or nothing. It's an exhibition match where they both know this is their last match ever after this. None of them get anything from fighting anymore. They're just risking their lives for nothing. This is just having a good time.
Right.
Going all out for one last hurrah. And it is wonderful.
They both go into it all right, there's a pretty good chance that if things go south, you fucking die.
One of us could just die right now.
Both their support teams are we'll let you go for a little bit, and then we're fucking canceling the match. Yeah. And they do, and they have a good time, and these two guys who respect each other get to meet in the ring before they retire, and then Sachio throws in the towel, and everyone goes home happy.
Because he knows that even though Joe knows this is a risk, he can't stop himself. He loves boxing too much.
Right.
And that's why he's taking as much brain damage as he has, because he can't stop. He just keeps getting back up and getting fucking brain damage.
Uh-huh.
Don't box, you'll get brain damage and die. That's the lesson of the series.
That's the moral of the story.
Yep.
And actually, billionaires aren't that bad.
I honestly like this a lot. This was... It's almost sad that I can't get this anime of the season. It's just something else happened.
It was such a surprise. I did not expect a lot
It
from
really was. This was one where I looked at it at first and I'm like, why is this getting a season 2? Like, Megalo Box, the first one was fine as a standalone. It seemed to only exist as an Ashina no Joe celebration, so it's like, why continue it? But wow,
that was like the background for the first season. I think what I heard from OniMaru and Sha on their podcast is that the creators of this had like an idea for a new show, and nobody wanted it, and so they suggested, why not make Megalo Box 2? And they were like, okay, yeah, but season 1 kind of ended on a happy note, so it would have to start from like 0. We had to back to scratch and be even lower, actually. Like, he starts at -10. Yeah, so they kind of had to pull the reset. And then we get this incredible story, and I'm suspecting that the show they were trying to pitch is what became the first 4 episodes.
I think so, because I always got the feeling that like the whole NOMAD thing was originally a bigger part of it and got scaled back.
Yeah, but I'm happy that the part we got after that was also really, really good. Like, I loved this show all the way through. I was hooked.
Mm-hmm.
This is another one I was thinking, is this a 10? Nah, the first 4 episodes are a 10. The rest pulls it back down to like a good 9, a mid-9.
Still a 9, though.
Still a 9, though. And that's
still
really
a 9.
good. A season with 2 9s, maybe 10s, that's more than you can ask, really.
Yeah.
That's what you want from, like, an entire year.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
This was incredible.
Well, and maybe we'll continue this with our final show on the list. The last one is Zombieland Saga Revenge.
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 Did they ever get their revenge? They did, actually.
Yes, they did. They did ultimately get back their popularity and more, because they did good things and helped a lot of people, and it was nice and fun. Am I the only one who's seen this?
What?
I have not seen all of it.
Yes, I did see all of it, yes.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't know. I can't live in a world where I don't have the option to watch more Zombieland Saga for the first time. Like, this is my, like, save it for a rainy day show.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched, like, 4 episodes of it, and it is phenomenal. This is probably my favorite opening of the season. I just can't watch it. It's so impressive. But this whole show, the outfits, noodles coming out of people's noses, eyes following a stray fly. There's so many small little details that imbue the show with life, which is very fitting for a show about the dead. And the show of the dead is not shy about these main characters being zombies, both because, haha, that's funny, that's where we can derive humor, and it's aesthetically interesting, but, like, a clear metaphor for the real-world idols being worked to death.
Yeah.
And to stagnate and flounder in this industry is, like, equivalent to dying. Like, it all just comes together with probably one of my favorite casts in anime right now.
Yes.
Just the humor absolutely lands, but it's also couched in references, so it's more than just skin deep. Like, it's well thought out. Everything is paced well. The music is good. I adore this show. I am absolutely in love with it.
Yeah. This also has one of my favorite casts in anime. I feel like everyone got better this season. You can argue about best girl, and everybody wins this discussion. There's just no wrong answers.
Unless you like Yamada Tai. I will never cede that she's a good joke. I am tired of her.
You're never a good joke.
I know, but I admit that, though.
No, Tai was great in this season.
She went shopping once, and that was funny.
She became a fucking sick drummer.
She became a drummer.
Yeah.
That was good.
You wouldn't understand. You're not a drummer, Panic.
I took drum class in school. Long time ago.
I love when they get electrocuted and it turns them into auto-tune.
Like laser beams out their face.
Oh, it's so dumb. It just has an energy that same way with like SSSS.Dynazenon and Gridman. Like, just watching it, I can't quite place my finger on why it is a joy, but it brings me it every time I watch it.
I think my favorite part about the electricity thing is that the cable gets severed in front of them, and it doesn't touch them right away. Junko has to pick it up and look at it like, and then like stick it on her chest. And then she lights up. She's like, oh,
she can just like
I can do
hold
something
hands
with
and
this.
transfer it.
There we go. Yeah, it was a really fun season.
That's great, but what I've always wanted more of with Zombieland is that it kind of baits you a little bit in the first season, where the first 2 episodes of the first season, you get these insane mashups where, you know, it's like idols doing these crazy, unthinkable music genres, like the death metal and the rap battle and stuff. And I feel like there wasn't enough of that, despite how it started. But finally, in Revenge, we do get more of those crazy, insane mashups where this one, they think about like, oh, we need to do something like weird and out there and something like no one else would ever do. And then you get fucking nu metal where Juko just goes insane and smashes a guitar, and it's fucking awesome.
Fucking love Juko.
And then Lily has another one of her own episodes where she does like this funny kids routine and stuff. And she does fucking Rakugo as well. So obviously 10 out of 10.
She does Scatman John. That's what she does.
It's amazing. So yeah, we got more of that. Although I will say that in a way I actually didn't like this as much as the first season. Even though like the first several episodes were like the best content this series has ever had. And I said that I have a whole video from 2018 where I said this Zombieland Saga was the funniest anime of 2018. But yeah, the first few episodes of this season were like even better. But it did the same problem that happened at the end of the first season, where it just started taking itself way too seriously. And in this season, it was like way too seriously. Like, I'll just be honest. This whole thing about the origin of Yugiri and Saga and all, it's kind of interesting. I don't fucking care. And those episodes were
Dude, what if I told you that part of the show made the title come full circle? Did you get it?
Sure, but no.
That Saga used to be a part of Japan, and then like the government made it not a part of Japan. So it died, and now this guy who looks like Kotaro in the past is like reviving it. It's a zombie land called Saga.
Hilarious. Those episodes kind of sucked.
No, I get it. No, like I said, I've
only
watched a couple episodes.
That's why he calls the whole thing canonically Zombieland Saga. His plan for the whole thing. He's reviving Saga.
Okay.
What's with you?
I like it.
I just
so unimpressed.
Hated those episodes. I hated them. But we might get season 3. I'm not going to say what happens in the last 10 seconds of this season, but let me just say that once you get to that point, just shut it off. Nothing happens. Once you watch them the last episode and you get to like 10 seconds left, just shut it off. Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about what happens. And we might get season 3, so that's cool.
All right. Perfect. Yeah, I don't know what this, like I said, I only watched a bit of it, but it's more Zombieland Saga, and so far it's been as good or better than the first.
Yes.
So.
And, yeah, so that's our list of anime that we watched and have things to say about. So that's about it. And I just want to say, fantastic season.
Yes.
This was.
Very
this was
good.
a freaking great season. I think I went into winter thinking that was going to be a really good season, and then a lot of stuff just kind of like fell off. Like Egg didn't really live up to expectations. Neverland was a fucking disaster. ReZero I didn't like that much. Mushoku Tensei I didn't like that much. Beastars wasn't as good as the first season. But the like spring was the season where some stuff just like came out of nowhere. I did not expect Megalo Box to be as good as it was. Odd Taxi came out of nowhere. It was just a bunch of really good shows this season.
Agree. It was the dark horse of seasons.
I guess so.
Fantastic season.
Yeah, so if that's all we have to say, then well, let's do like a quick top 3s of the season. Or yeah. top threes or top fives or
honestly
whichever.
Not that hard.
Let's stick to top three.
All right.
Odd Taxi 1.
I guess yes.
We all agree.
Odd Taxi 1 collectively. Odd Taxi 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
Megalo Box 2. Anyone disagree so far?
I mean, it's your list.
It's your list.
I was thinking we can make a pretty similar list.
Yeah, I mean, so far
I wouldn't put Odd.
So far,
I wouldn't put Megalo Box 2, but
I would. So far, yeah. Odd Taxi number 1. Give me Megalo Box, and then number 3.
Number 3's tough.
I think I'd go with Zombieland.
Yeah. I would probably say Odd Taxi, Megalo Box, and I did have fun with Spider. I still like Spider. It's a complicated mess, but it's fun. It's my mess.
I feel like I want to put Super Cub on my list.
Oh, yeah.
Go right ahead.
How dare you, first of all.
What do I take away for that? Yeah,
exactly.
Let's just go Odd Taxi, Zombieland Saga, and then Super Cub.
Cool.
I think for me, it's probably Odd Taxi, then Dynazenon, then Pretty Boy.
Ooh.
But it's hard to pick past Odd Taxi. There are a lot of things that are all
like
around
the
the same
collective
level.
number 1, Odd Taxi. But you love to see that, though. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, I think Vivy, Megalo Box are both also in consideration for the second and third spots pretty closely.
I don't know if we've ever had a season where we've had a universal number 1.
I don't think so.
That's amazing.
It'll be the first time and the last, because we won't do retrospectives anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a similar format to this in the future, but for now, yeah, I guess that's it. So, a long tradition now over. It's dead. But we hope, once again, we hope you you stick around for the future and check out the other stuff.
And we'll still see you for impressions next season.
Exactly. Although it might be weird, it might be a little bit late, because there's stuff that's like not airing until like August 1st for some reason.
It's really weird. Like a bunch of stuff is like delayed by a month.
This season already sucks.
I think a lot of that is half, you have the outsourcing delays of just COVID and stuff messing up production, but also with the Olympics starting up, there's only so much time in the day for television to be on.
That's true.
So
it's
I
like
think
a
lot of
month
stuff
with
got
no
moved
slots.
I didn't even think about that.
That's true.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fucking the only Olympics I need are the Odd
studio
Taxi
that made Odd Taxi. Yeah.
Nice.
There we go. But yeah, whatever we do for that, I will say, if you're listening on YouTube, you might want to check out the MP3 platform, because I think I'm going to upload the first impressions a couple days early on the MP3 platforms, because I edit the podcast. I do all the audio first and then the video editing, and the video editing takes me a couple of days. So I figured, if I just have the podcast done, I might as well just put it up somewhere. Yeah. So I'll say that
Makes sense.
Well, we'll see. But if you're not listening on YouTube, you can check out our YouTube channel. We're going over the Reddit Best Girl contest, as we do every year, and it's a lot of fun. These are episodes we only do on YouTube because we only do them live, and it probably helps to have a visual aid. So check us out there. Give us a like, comment, and subscribe. That's the best way of helping out the channel. But we appreciate you wherever you're listening, however you're listening. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. And also check us out on Twitter at Tokyo Podfathers. Join the Discord. We've got a bunch of stuff going on there. We're going to be starting some group watches, as well as some other stuff where I think we're going to take some Q&As, questions for a Q&A for our 6K sub special. So thank you very much for 6,000 subscribers, even though we hit that a while ago. We're just now going to get around to it. But yeah, so that's about it for me and for us. So thank you, Panic, Sinris, Mason, especially Mason, for joining me and talking about all these anime for so long.
Yeah, Mason, you want to plug yourself real quick?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, thanks equally for everyone. We were both here, all 3 hours, so we're all on the same page. No, thanks for having me. Once again, I'm from the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. We've been around for a long time, and we're just keep on pumping them out. So we'd love if you swing by and check us out. So
yeah,
much appreciated.
Very much so. And so, yeah, that's going to do it. So, see you around, Tutoru.
Stay frosty.
I had a better outro plan, but I didn't say it. Oh, well.
Want to go back?
Oh, well.